You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
This is Randy. In the future, we'll wonder where it all went wrong when Superman Family Adventures, the movie, gets an R rating.
In the future, there will be record weapon sales, martial arts, and combat training, because our nanos will keep us so healthy, we will basically be immortal. So we'll start stuff all the time.
And this is Jesse. In the future, in order to one-up DC Rebirth's twice-monthly schedule, Iron Fist will release thrice monthly.
Marvel's done weird things in the past couple years where it wasn't like Spider-Man was like twice monthly for a while and then once a month and then like weekly for a couple. I don't know. Marvel does weird things with that too.
They, especially with Spider-Man, you're not wrong about that. They had a Spider-Man twice monthly book for a while, and I read it because it was Spider-Man, but I was like, why is this one twice monthly? And it almost inevitably, almost always inevitably, no. It tends to diminish the quality, I think.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I think we should make a comic book, or when we do make a comic book, if we ever make one of the comic books we've talked about, we should be like, it's not monthly, it's whenever we decide to release it, so just wait.
Yeah. We put the podcast business model on it. It's like, well, watch your RSS feed.
Watch your RSS feed.
Yeah. We're kind of like Adult Swim. Maybe you'll get like 12 now and then like 4 more in 6 years and then, whatever.
That's
you're going to love it whenever it comes out.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Yep. So the Neil Gaiman Sandman Overture model.
Yeah, no kidding.
They release the first 3 and then wait 6 months, another one, and then wait like a year and the final one comes out.
Yeah.
Except he kind of had a platform of success first.
That's true.
I mean, you got a name and a publisher and talent behind you. You can kind of get away with that sometimes.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Dark Knight. Like, okay, after that, you can wait a while till Dark Knight 2. And then, when Dark Knight 2 is horrible, you can wait a while and let people forget it before you put out 3. The Master Race.
I haven't read... I'm very curious about that. I haven't read any of it.
2?
Well, I've never read 2, and I'm very curious about 3 because they're currently releasing how they do, right? It's coming out in 4 parts or something like that.
Oh yeah, and then they'll release as a trade later. I'm just waiting until the trade.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and something like that it's obviously made for the trade, for the graphic novel.
Right.
That's a little double dip. I mean, a lot of comic books are double dip anyway, but the monthly series makes more sense to double dip.
Like Watchmen, it came out originally as monthly, but it was always made to be a graphic novel, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they'd call it a miniseries, but...
Yeah, Witches is like that.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome to the Grawlix Podcast.
Oh, what an open! Whoa!
It's close to a cold open.
Yeah.
This is episode... I was looking at the website. 26? Or, I think? I'm always...
that sounds like a number.
At least I'm within 20 of the correct episode number this time, instead of being like, 47!
Yeah, you were still on EMG time.
Yeah.
Yeah, EMG time. I like it. So this month, I think we've already technically ticked past the anniversary since the inception of Grawlix Podcast, but this month marks 2 years of putting out episodes.
Whoa.
I thought the anniversary was our anniversary.
Well, this episode's going up.
Oh, I see what you're
March.
saying. I see what you're saying.
In the future.
I forget we time travel.
We do. We time travel about a week is the most we ever time travel.
Yeah.
Sometimes only 24 hours, and those are the rough ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 2 years.
Woo!
How do you guys
This is a terrible twos.
So
we can start being like borderline Grawlixy.
Yeah, we're gonna be real crappy, like like rude. We're gonna ask questions constantly.
Wine.
Skirt the line. Yeah.
And we're just gonna push the limits to see what we can get away with.
Once in a while, I'm gonna throw myself on the floor and flail about.
I'm gonna be really curious about outlets.
Oh.
Yep. So, you better watch your podcast feed because it's going to be on reading.
Yeah. You never know when that RSS is going to light up.
We're going to wander over to other people's RSSs, and
we've been wandering over.
You're right. We have been.
Speaking of, we should probably shout out some people's.
Let's do it. Let's shout them out.
We should probably start with Brandon because he's let us on his show forcibly, taken over his show a couple times. Well, I don't know if we took over his show, but we sure injected ourselves into it.
We did at his request.
True.
Yeah, the Technology Geek at thetechnologygeek.org. We were on two of his episodes last month, which is pretty awesome. Just about the whole episode each time. I think Jesse started off the first one that we invaded.
Yes, yeah.
And then I jumped in partway.
Yep.
And then kind of vice versa for the next episode. It was a good time. It made me want to do more of just a relaxed hangout session once in a while.
They were really fun. I mean, we just kind of spitballed topics and went from there. It was a good time.
Yeah, that would be fun, except if it were actually us, we'd have like 14-hour podcasts.
It would never end. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
It is true.
While we're shouting out people, we've had a lot of like really loyal Twitter followers that have been awesome. Like Sarah Rourke from After Daylight at After Daylight on the Twitters. And John Esparza, he always retweets our stuff. That's at John's Crazy Tweets. Eric Crow, who is at the Hat himself on the Twitters, and Captain Llama himself at Will_Gallo has been retweeting all of our stuff. Those guys, awesome. And at the Drunken Dork is like probably one of our biggest FFs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well,
and for the non-tweets, that's Follow Friday.
Yep.
FF.
Well, thank you to all those people. I've only heard of one or two of you.
We'll be waiting. We'll be waiting for our checks in the mail.
You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome, even if we don't get a check, but we should.
We'll still shout you out because you guys. Yeah, no, they're awesome. They engage and they spread the Grawlix.
People need to clean up their act, and that's what a Grawlix is for.
They're known to slap a hefty Grawlix on it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
The heavy Grawlix hand.
This is a whole world of stuff Melanie knows nothing of.
Nope, I do not.
Well,
I do not do the tweets.
I don't know why I think you would like Twitter, but I think you would like Twitter.
You should know that. Okay, look at my Facebook. How often do I actually speak on Facebook?
You don't have to on Twitter, and stuff's still happening.
Twitter would be awful because
it would be.
You only get so many characters, and so like trying to agonize how many characters to say the one thing you want to say.
I do that anyway in like text.
Not good.
Like,
yeah.
Where's my thesaurus? I need to convey what I really want to say.
Yeah, I think you'd be a good aggregator, though. I think you could retweet a storm.
Oh yeah, I probably could do that.
Oh, yeah.
So as long as nobody talks to me, yeah, I suppose I'd be all right.
I won't force you onto Twitter.
Okay, thank you.
Like I pushed you towards Tumblr.
Yeah, I know.
And I haven't been on Tumblr forever now.
It's
Twitter
hard.
Twitter is our biggest engagement so far. I mean, we've had some newbies added to the Facebook group, which has been nice, though. We've seen some super friends join up in there.
I did notice that. I noticed people other than you guys were posting in there when it notifies me that things happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Facebook, in terms of pages and that whole thing, like, you know, we try to keep on that too. And people do message us there sometimes. And I try to notice sometimes some Facebook messages are weird when it comes to pages. But the group idea, man, has so much potential. So if anybody's interested, we just post some interesting stuff and hopefully get some conversations going in the group about the same type of stuff we talk about here. It's facebook.com/groups/Grawlix Podcast. And yeah, that's it. It's just a group. Join us and chat us up because it's a good time.
That's the easiest way to get a hold of us on Facebook, really, because the page is there, but it's mostly just like news articles that we see and then promotion for the show. And if you're lucky, you're one of the 5 people that the page actually reaches.
Shout outs. That was our shout outs.
That was new. Sorry. Derailed the normal.
The normal derailment.
It's all sandwich. It's all pizza. It's all sandwich pizza.
Sandwich pizza. Actually seen that.
Really?
On a YouTube video today. Just today.
Wouldn't that be like a Hot Pocket that's not closed or something?
No, it was weird. He put lettuce in it.
Ew.
It was a salad sandwich pizza. He was being weird.
The only time that lettuce on a pizza is okay is like taco pizza.
Yeah,
Good point. Good point. Amongst the things we'll talk about this episode, we're going to talk about our poll list pick from last month, the book we read for you guys this month.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It was once again another good pick. We'll get to that in a little bit. Dead Air, Walking Dead.
Yep.
Melanie's read it before. She'll have to have a refresher as we go along.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk about volume 6, which is the Sorrowful Life or something. I've got notes on that.
I'm kind of sad because we're approaching volume 8, which is like the end of book 1, where we have to we'll have to have our decision. We'll have analysis paralysis on what to do next.
Okay. Yeah. I was wondering, I couldn't remember where the book 1 omnibus or whatever left off. And for some reason I was thinking it was this one, but you guys hadn't said anything yet. So I was like, okay, no, maybe it's not.
Pretty sure it's 8.
Okay.
I have no idea because I didn't do the omnibus thing.
It's a big, hefty book.
Well,
I think I almost bought it for you one year for Christmas.
Are you sure it was that one and not the, well, it could have been that one too, I guess.
Yeah, no, it was that one. It's like the first 50 issues or something. So at that point, we'll have to decide if we want to continue walking with the dead or jump to something else. Because that segment started off, if you don't know, that started off as initially we were doing Swamp Thing, Alan Moore run of Swamp Thing. It was Swamp Studies. And then after that, we were like, well, where should we go now? Dead Air.
Mm-hmm.
Dead Air.
A little Grawlix history lesson.
Well, never mind. We'll discuss it then.
But also, since this is volume 6 we'll be talking about, that means we've been doing Dead Air for a year.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
How time flies.
2 years, guys. I'm telling you. 2 years.
So we did Swamp Thing for a year too, huh?
Yeah, we did Swamp Thing for a year because we alternate. Every other episode we'll do a segment.
It's gotta be a tradition then or something.
To change it?
Like a year of whatever we do.
Well, in this case, it'll be a year and 2 months since we're doing 8 volumes.
Oh, I see.
Because, I mean, we're so close to the end of the first book, we might as well finish that up and then reevaluate.
Yeah.
I think I promised Jesse he could pick the next one because...
No, I picked this one.
Oh, you picked this one?
So I think it's Mel's turn.
Oh, it's Melanie's turn. Yeah, but she wanted Walking Dead too.
Oh, I like Walking Dead, but
yeah, you get to pick the next one.
Yeah.
Maybe some Sandman.
Maybe
some
Transmetropolitan.
Oh, that'd be a good one too.
I love it. Well, there's lots of them I love actually, so it's gonna be hard.
You'll have to start the wheels turning now. You got
But we've read a little bit of a lot of things that I like, so.
Mm-hmm. But first, and I don't know if we have to get into like full blown review of this because every podcast, every movie podcast, every comic book podcast, I was listening to a horror movie podcast that did a full episode on this.
What could you possibly be talking about?
That's right. I'm talking about The Room. No. I was trying to think of something.
Speaking of Dead Air.
Yes. Deadpool. Obviously, we've seen it. A lot of people did. But also a lot of people are doing entire episodes of discussion on it. So I don't think we have to go too in depth with like a review of it.
Right.
But if you guys want, since we've all seen it, we can talk about it for a moment. And then I also kind of want to segue that into the rated R discussion, because that's, at this point, almost interests me more.
Yeah.
So Deadpool, Melanie and I went and watched it on Valentine's Day.
Because Randy loves me.
It was our date. We had the best seats in the theater.
We did.
Yeah. And I don't know when Jesse went and saw it.
I don't think it wasn't Valentine's Day because
no.
we don't celebrate that. But we did go like shortly thereafter, and we enjoyed. I assume you enjoyed.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. I expected to like it because I like almost everything that Ryan Reynolds does because he's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up, he is. And and I thought Deadpool was an interesting character anyway. So I expected to enjoy myself at least somewhat. And I was right.
You seemed pretty excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
I was interested to see it. I was hopeful. I was cautiously excited. I wanted to see it, but I was kind of nervous because I was nervous it was going to be super full of, it was pretty full of like sophomoric humor. Is that the right term?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You think Ryan Reynolds is always going to be Van Wilder, and that's not the case.
Well, no, he kind of was.
But not.
But okay, no. Here's what I was worried. It was going to be full of stuff like this. In the trailers, they do that joke where he's talking about, you know why I wear the red suit and blah, blah, blah. This guy gets it. He wore the brown pants. And I was like, it's a poop joke. So I was kind of worried it was going to be more of that. But actually, there's so many jokes. Some of them are going to land. Some of them are going to miss.
Some of them only two people in the theater will laugh at, and they'll laugh hysterically loudly.
Well, and I was going to say, like, the humor, there was a lot more, like, really dark humor than I expected. Mm-hmm. And I love that stuff.
Yeah, so obviously we did, because we were the only people there. And we were like,
If there is a Marvel character that you guys were destined to love, it's Deadpool.
Yeah. So yeah, I was, like I said, I was excited but cautious. And I came out of there, like, I was thoroughly entertained the whole time. Mm-hmm. I had a very good time.
Yep.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. And you, Jesse, what did you think?
I have the good fortune and the misfortune of following Deadpool since he was created. I own his first appearance. I've kept track of him via his miniseries, his ongoing series, all of them. And then he's done several offshoot books. And so I've seen a great variety of Deadpool through the ages kind of situation, where originally he was this villain, and he's more of an anti-hero now. So I was interested to see where they would go with it. I did enjoy the movie, knowing full well that they would probably go with the anti-hero stuff instead of starting flat out with him as a villain.
Mm-hmm.
I was very impressed to see that they started basically with his, not just his origin, but also his first ongoing run, where he was based out of the bar, and he had the roommate, which was Blind Owl. Like, she's an incredible character, and I did not expect them to go there. So Weasel and Blind Owl were like, they were icing on the cake for me. So overall, very, very happy with it. There's a few things where I was like, oh, really? You had a real missed opportunity there. But overall, very happy. Deadpool is not a mutant. That's my only criticism.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's a Weapon X experiment. Wolverine went into Weapon X as a mutant and then got his adamantium. Wade Wilson just had cancer.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought he did have cancer. I thought it was they gave him some drugs that, like, forced mutation.
That's basically what happened.
Okay.
But, they turned him into a mutant in the movie, and in the comics, he's not a mutant. He's just somebody that they augmented.
Okay.
AKA Steve Rogers, only gone horribly wrong. AKA Lasagna Face.
Yeah, they kind of avoided the whole, the Weapon X thing. There's, of course, there's a bunch of articles about, Easter eggs and this and that. So there's things in there that the Easter eggs that ties it into that a little bit in the movie. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, they didn't they didn't really even get into like what that place was exactly. They didn't give it a name.
Mm-hmm. Well, places like that don't get names.
It's true.
So I guess beating around the bush a little bit, I had an awful lot of history where I could be like, oh God, it's another Transformers moment. No, this movie still won me over. So even all my fanboy pedantics aside, great movie.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds.
And I think, not having all the history with the character, there's still a lot of jokes and a lot of call outs and callbacks to stuff that the normal viewer will get, like pop culture type stuff. And then also stuff that to people that are, mildly tied into at least the history of the character. As well as obviously, like I didn't recognize Liefeld. I didn't know what he looked like, but he was in it.
Yeah. Well, and then the fact that they tied in Hydra Bob, but they couldn't call him Hydra Bob. They just said Bob. That was a total reference to the comic.
I also, sorry, go ahead.
He's an agent of Hydra that's named Bob. And they're not even supposed to have names. So there you go.
Oh, nice. I also didn't catch when we were watching it that it's basically a crashed helicarrier that they're fighting on.
Yeah,
I
didn't quite get that either, but
it all just looked like shipyard stuff to me. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I love the meta stuff, the meta humor, meta commentary, and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah, you like the chicka-chicka thing at the end.
Well, is it the Ferris Bueller thing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love the Ferris Bueller nod.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty perfect. Yeah,
and the calling out. The two Professor X actors and just stuff like that. I enjoyed quite a bit. It made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
It just passed 600 million worldwide, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But they said it was poised to be the most, with the highest grossing R-rated movie ever.
Yeah, that's what I heard. It's almost caught up to, what was it, Matrix Reloaded? Is that the one?
Was that rated R?
It was one of the Matrix sequels. I don't know which, but yeah. Must have been.
Well, that would have been the second Matrix movie, but
they have pale boy-shaped things rolling around each other, so I guess that makes it needs to be R.
I must have watched that movie all wrong.
Isn't that the one where Neo and
yeah, and people. Okay, well then, where Neo and Trinity have like a sex scene,
if you
quote
can call it that, yeah.
That movie was rated R. Then why were people all up in arms about it? People are like, oh, there was a controversy about it. Or at least the news made one about that scene.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you can't tell which one's which.
Blue pill.
It wasn't even that. It was, yeah. Anyway, I'm surprised that was rated R. I mean, I know it's violent, but
we can IMDb it real quick if you want.
No, you're probably right. So then, of course, this opened up. The studios are so dumb.
Yeah, it's rated R.
They're so surprised. They're so surprised that this movie made a bunch of money. And I didn't read it, but James Gunn wrote an article or a post or whatever that had some traction going around. And there's just been a lot of people saying things that I kind of agree with. But so now the studio's like, whoa, an R-rated comic book movie can actually make us money.
Yeah.
But I don't think...
I think they're getting the wrong idea out of this success.
Yeah, everyone's worry is that the studio, and this is not, it's not unfounded worry. The studios can be like, oh, this made money because it's a rated R comic book movie. But I don't think that's the case. It made money because it's, well, first off, it's a fun character.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie that's true to the character.
Right.
And I mean, that's what it's more about it being true to the character and presenting something that's not just completely watered down and homogenized and altered for demographic reasons and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it's so successful.
So then that leads into like the next Wolverine movie, where we have a precedent for PG-13, even though it's Wolverine. I mean, it is Wolverine, and I can see a case for an R-rated Wolverine movie. Because the guy has freaking blades that come out of his hands.
That's how he fights, yeah.
Yeah, what else do you do with that? But we've had X-Men movies and we've had Wolverine movies, and they've been a certain, rating. And so a certain age group has gone to see them. Now we're going to say, oh, this next one's rated R.
Yeah, Wolverine's the perfect example of like where this is like complicated. Because right away, they were like, Wolverine 3, they're shooting for an R. This is what they want.
Yeah, and we've always been shooting for an R.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not that hard to get an R if you want it.
Exactly. If Deadpool didn't come out and make hundreds of millions of dollars, they wouldn't have even toyed with it.
They would have stuck with their PG-13, which they had on the last two, and it worked fine for them.
And okay, well, Wolverine just himself, I can see being R-rated, but because he's associated with the X-Men, I feel it should kind of be PG-13 because of the X-Men are a PG-13 type thing.
Well, I think you hit it totally, and this is like the main point I wanted to make with all this is Wolverine on his own, based solely on the character, should be an R-rated movie.
Right.
When they did The Wolverine, there was, I don't know that it was an R cut, but there was like an alternate cut on home video that was a little more brutal. I mean, it wasn't like gory, but it was a little more brutal, and it was good. It's like, yeah, that's the character. That's how he fights.
Yeah.
Right.
But the problem is, you guys are right. Wolverine is the poster boy for X-Men movies.
Right.
He's been in every X-Men movie in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
He's the face of this big PG-13 franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's complicated. Because at this point, it's not just a Wolverine movie where you're doing the character justice. It's another part of a larger, somewhat family-friendly franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I think where it gets real sticky is you can start at R and work more family friendly, like say Terminator. You can start at R and go to PG-13, and it may not be the smartest choice, but you can do it and you can still be successful. On the other hand, if you start at PG-13 and work up to R, suddenly you're kind of changing the rules.
Yeah, it definitely becomes kind of weird.
Yeah. And they just need to look at the characters and where they come from. Generally, if it's associated with any group, I don't know that you want it to be rated R, but like Spawn was crap. It should have been R, and even if it was though, it might have still been crap.
It was. There was an R-rated cut released to video again.
Yeah.
And it was still the same horrible movie. But that's beyond a rating issue. That's a development issue.
Right.
Yeah. John Leguizamo, jeez.
It was bad. Everything about that movie was bad.
Yeah.
So, like, some characters, like, breaking it off, I'm all for more R-rated comic book-based, or even I'll take it to superhero movies, if the character warrants it. Mm-hmm. If it's just an R to throw the rating out there and be like, this is gonna be edgy.
If they put an R on, like, Superman, I'd be like, I call shenanigans on you.
So what do you think of this then? What do you think of this? Is Superman v. Batman v. Superman. Mm-hmm. I still hate saying that title. This is not a court case, okay? Maybe it is. We haven't seen the movie yet. Batman v. Superman. It's going to be PG-13 in the theater. Yeah. There's like no question about it.
It should be.
Right. It should be, yeah.
But they did receive an R rating back from the MPAA for a cut that will go out on home video.
Whatever.
This was the director's cut? Is that right?
Director's cut.
That's okay.
Which will no doubt get a release, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm confused about is usually when it's the video release, it doesn't get a rating, does it?
No, usually it gets
unrated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because at that point they're not going to like do the whole resubmitting, and then also unrated carries a tone. You're like, ooh, the unrated cut. So even if it would have been an R or just a heavy PG-13, it doesn't matter. They can say unrated.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And sometimes the rating, it has more to do with politics than it actually does.
I think most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. So
sure.
So it's interesting that I think the only reason they like, and the MPAA process isn't quick like this deal. So I'm sure they submitted a version of Batman v Superman to them before Deadpool came out and did gangbusters. Mm-hmm. But because Deadpool came out and did gangbusters, then they're like, well, hey, they give this initial cut in R. So let's just drop that little tidbit out there and get some more press, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That's the way I see it. And also, like, sometimes with movies, they'll submit a cut. Certain TV shows will do this too, like, the more edgy TV shows will do this with their censors as well. They'll submit a cut that's intentionally more risque than they intend.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That way, when they do get notes back on what to cut, they can cut that stuff that they didn't really want in there anyway. They just put it in there to push it over the limit so that the next version, the version they really want, to go through. They submit. Doesn't look as bad as that first one that got like R or whatever.
Right.
So that's kind of a trick that they'll do to kind of push the limits anyway. So maybe it's not uncommon for a superhero movie to get the R rating. They'll just ramp up the violence a bunch or something, get the R and be like, okay, whoop, my bad. Let's cut this stuff that we've never intended to actually have in there anyway.
Right.
And that could be, I don't know.
I was really happy when we watched the movie that
Deadpool,
that most of the commercial was like in the first 15 minutes. So I hate it when the commercial shows you like most of
the whole movie.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah.
It had, I mean, not the most unique, but an interesting narrative structure. And I think part of what made that movie, this is jumping into a little bit of like Deadpool review that we're not going to do. Part of what made it interesting was that they were working with a smaller budget because the studio's not going to take a huge gamble. But I think they used that to their strength. It wasn't big, epic, saving the world shenanigans as they always get into. It was a more contained story. It was basically kind of just a revenge type story, and his origin. And there were only like 2 action sequences. The freeway one, which they stretched for most of the movie by intercutting it out with longer chunks of a flashback. I think it's just a really smart use of a more limited budget.
Well, and it's a good way to explore that character too, because a lot of his most popular and funny things in the book happen when he's just hanging out in his apartment.
Yeah,
it's mostly inner monologue stuff that didn't have anything to do with battle. He has some funny quips from battle, but so does Spider-Man. So what really sets Deadpool apart from Spider-Man is that, yeah, he's just as depraved when he's out of the costume as when he is in it and doing, battle and action.
If I look like Deadpool, I just keep my costume on always.
Most of the time he does, yeah. He's like hanging out in his boxer shorts, but has the mask on.
So, and I'm thinking, not something like Saga or something like that, like more superhero comic book.
I know. Superhero.
What would you like to see that deserves an R, that should get an R, if handled right? And then, what is something you think they might try to pull? Like, well, let's give this an R, even though it shouldn't. That's not as good of a question, I don't think. But
I think you already called it on Superman v Batman. Like, I don't know. I'm worried that I will live in a world where kids can't go to a Batman movie.
That's my thing. I don't know about the Superman and Batman, but like if they made another Batman movie, I can totally see him trying to do that, which is weird because he doesn't kill people.
It hurts me a little in the heart to say it, but I don't think there should be an R-rated Batman solo movie.
I don't think there should be, but I think that they would try to make it.
But, well, I mean, you've also got, there's been, they do the animated movies, and there's been talk about doing the Killing Joke, and the general consensus is they'll give the go-ahead on an R-rated version of an animated Killing Joke. But that's not something that gets wide distribution. Does that matter? Like, does that count as the same type of thing?
No.
Or is that worse?
It's not like...
I mean, I want to see an R-rated Killing Joke. Animated.
Well, and that makes sense because it's so extreme.
But, I mean, that's an animated... I mean, is that even the same conversation?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think
it's
so.
It's kind of like anime versus regular cartoon. Though,
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
There is, there's a case for that. There's a case for more extreme animation, I guess.
I agree.
And the DC animated stuff's been kind of progressively getting more extreme anyway.
And is it just me, or does it seem like they're harder on animation ratings-wise?
Probably.
Yeah.
It seems like they're much quicker to, like, I mean, South Park is extreme, but, they kept trying to make them, like, NC-17 for forever. It was really hard for them to get dropped down.
Oh, right.
Well, it kind of depends on, I think, the anime, bringing up anime is a good point. I think anime being in the American, subconscious for as long as it has been now, definitely kind of helps that. But, occasionally they'll get on the kick where cartoons, kids are going to be blah, 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 cartoons, kids. It's the same thing as video games. Video games, kids, violence. But, like, most gamers are in their 20s and 30s at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there are still some kids that.
Well, of course, there's still some kids that everything.
But so what? You can't filter your kids from the whole world forever anyway. That's my opinion, though.
Well, and it's not the job for everyone to do that. It's the job for the parent to do that for that individual kid or whatever, know.
Like, you turned out great and your parents censored you. I turned out fantastic and mine didn't.
You're a weirdo, though. I don't know. My parents censored certain. They took my dad took weird stances on things.
Actually, my dad did too, but I just ignored him.
No Beavis and Butthead, which I guess it was certain things. But then again,
yeah,
I watched The Thing and most of The Exorcist when I was way young. So,
oh man,
there was that one scene in The Exorcist that I didn't see till I was a bit older.
Yeah,
really?
The
just
crucifix
one
scene.
So they
I was
make
gonna
you
say
leave the room?
that's probably the one. But yeah,
They'd pause it and be like,
That's
okay,
hilarious to me.
well, you should.
That's the line.
I guess.
But I suppose that's I guess maybe coming from a certain standpoint, that's art, and Beavis and Butthead is trash. Maybe I'm guessing the more the mindset there.
Yeah. My dad didn't want me to watch Beavis and Butthead, but I did anyway, and he didn't want me to watch South Park, and then I'm like, yeah, but you're standing here laughing at it, so no, you can't even say that to me anymore. Go away.
Okay, what was our point?
Well, the point, the original question was where is the line?
Okay, yeah.
What movies should be rated R and aren't, and which ones shouldn't be and might be.
Yeah, a solo Batman movie rated R. I know there's a lot of people pushing for that right now.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of don't want it. Not a live action.
I would have a hard time with, like I said, in a world where Superman or Batman are a movie that kids can't go see. And it's not because Batman isn't rated R. He can be, for sure. But he can also be Adam West.
I just don't think they need, you can do, I mean, they've got Zack Snyder doing these movies. You can do dark and edgy without having to be R.
Yeah.
I mean, Man of Steel.
Tim Burton did it.
Oh yeah, the Tim Burton movies. And there was there was Batman Returns has some weird, ramped up sexual stuff in it. And it still got away with, I'm assuming PG-13. And Batman killed somebody in that movie.
You look at just the first two, the ones where Tim Burton had pretty much sole control over.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of dark. They're kind of spooky, but they pull it off. He kills the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And the Joker is shooting people. He's not as wacky as he can be. He's dangerous.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can get away with a lot in a PG-13 that you don't necessarily. I think I don't know. You don't need F-bombs in a Batman movie, and as it is, you can get away with at least one in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. I mean, other than extreme gore. I mean, that's really kind of the blood. Blood is the deciding factor when it comes to violence. You can shoot tons of people. It just depends on the tone of the movie and the gore.
Mm-hmm. Or you could just make everybody robots. That's why Samurai Jack was so great.
Samurai Jack's coming back. Did you know that?
It's coming back?
Coming back.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. I think on Adult Swim, maybe?
That's where it was.
I think so, yeah.
Well, it was Cartoon Network. It'll actually be on Adult Swim. Well, I guess they ran it on Adult Swim too, though, didn't they?
It was the edge of Adult Swim. It's we'll start this at 9, and then at 10 Adult Swim starts, but that's, in some places it's already, whatever. I don't know.
Okay, so what do you guys want to see on R-rated?
Well, I would like to see, because they really, I don't know. I enjoy the movie for what it was, but The Mask, that should have been R-rated, and it was
Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
I don't
know. The original comic is dark. Stanley Ipkiss is not lovable, and they made a lovable goon out of Stanley Ipkiss. Stanley Ipkiss is not nice. That's what I'm trying to say. He is, he's a mass murderer pretty much.
Oh,
when he puts that mask on. The Mask is not true to the comics at all.
I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know it was a comic. Just seen them. That's interesting.
Yeah. Nothing about zoot suits. Nothing about swing music or ska or whatever it was.
What about the dog? Does the dog have a mask?
No, not that I remember. No. They do a lot of things. I mean, the Mask goes all over the place, and there's a rich comic history that they can pull from, and it does get zany. It is very much a cartoon character gone horribly wrong, but they didn't go there in the movie. So I would, if I were going to recast a movie that's already been made that should have been rated R, that's the one.
I have one that kind of follows that line of thinking. but this is also just straight up my actual answer, but there's some debate as to whether it'd actually be superhero. I want to see an R-rated Swamp Thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's been talk about, not necessarily Swamp Thing movie, but, a Justice League Dark movie, which looks like is never actually going to happen. The
only reason maybe there's some violence, but
no, I want to
naked
John
Abby-ness.
Constantine.
Yeah, I want to see Alan Moore style, and the reason I'd want it R is I want the horror suspense angle more so than like superhero angle, and I want a good horror movie, and there are very, very few good horror movies PG-13 or under.
Right.
They got to do it right.
That's because people are weird. I don't know why scary makes it bad.
It's the tone. That plays into tone. It's tone. It's too heavy. It'll scare children.
They should be scared.
But, I don't know. I mean, think about the original Poltergeist. That's what, PG-13, maybe PG? And the guy claws his own face off in a hallucination. Like, that's great.
And their parents were doing drugs and
yeah, but movies don't get rated
tree
like
rape.
that anymore.
Oh wait, no, not tree.
That's Evil Dead. That's definitely R.
Yeah. But they still have some weird tree things going on.
Yeah, that
trying
was
to eat
just
teenage girls.
creepy trees.
Or was it the boy?
It was the boy.
Okay, well,
You
still,
need to watch Poltergeist again.
it's been a long time, honestly.
Me too, but it's ground in there. Having Steven Spielberg produce a movie probably helps you nudge ratings a certain way too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Melanie?
What?
R-rated comic book movie
I'm
you'd like
trying
to
to
see?
think of superhero ones, and I don't.
Yeah, I know.
If they ever
I
made
have
an
a second.
Incredibles one,
There you go. You beat me to it.
yeah.
Invincible.
Oh, I always call it Incredibles. Why do I
That's
do
it.
that?
R-rated
That would be
Incredibles.
epic. That's on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I should not have an R-rated Incredibles.
No, Invincible. Yeah, I don't know why I always call it that. But
Invincible, if they made it would have to be R, or else you're losing a portion of what makes Invincible amazing. Because it's like fun and it's fun and like wholesome, and then extremely violent and gory. Like, yeah, that's just part of the mix that makes it unique.
The Punisher is already a movie, and now I would assume that has to be R, right?
There's been both. There's been R-rated Punisher movies and PG or PG-13 Punisher movies.
Oh, that's weird. That should always be R, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what else there is. Or is Preacher's gonna be a TV show?
Preacher, since we talked about it last, I found out, I mean, the news was out there when we talked about it, but we're not always keyed in on headline. Preacher would be AME.
What's that?
Or AMC.
Okay. Well, I don't know how they're going to do it. It should be a movie, and it should be
Walking Dead gets away with some extreme things.
past R. That should be like what was it, that Midnight Cowboy, whatever stuff.
Midnight Cowboy.
Isn't that?
We're kind of bleeding into dead air territory, but there's been some discussion about Negan joining the show, and what does that mean for how they handle his language?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even thinking.
Well, and that's part of, you've read all of Preacher, right?
Yeah.
I've only read the first a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But
well,
is that Warren Ellis? Well, anything that he writes, for the most part, you can't do a version where the characters don't have free reign of language.
Well, language especially, everything they say, pretty much. But also, crazy violence, all kinds of sex stuff, drugs, all the every bad thing there could possibly be, including horror. There's, all of it. There's no way it's gonna do it any kind of justice.
Yeah.
And Walking Dead is pretty good, but you can do a lot with zombies that's scary and good without the crazier stuff that goes on in the comic.
Well, and I was thinking about that with Walking Dead, is they get away with a lot because it's zombies. But there's insane violence towards living human characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was it last season, the opening episode last season maybe, where they're cutting people's throats? That one shocked me. I was like, wow, just that they could get away with it.
I think that was a mid-season finale or something. That
might be.
Yeah, at Terminus or something?
Yeah, Terminus.
Yeah, Terminus, yeah.
But then again, they're still tame on the language.
Yeah.
They're still playing by, relative TV rules when it comes to language.
Mm-hmm.
And South Park has shown us that you can push that. Definitely. I mean, South Park, they can pretty much say almost anything they want now.
I think they do.
But there's still certain shows Well, like they were even playing with that one line that Rick says at the end of the season where they get locked up in Terminus. You know, that they're screwing with the wrong people, and then that alternate take came out online where they were toying with the idea of dropping the F-bomb in there, and they decided, nah, let's not push for it.
I mean, guess I can see it, but when someone doesn't say it through the zombie apocalypse, why, it's weird for them to all of a sudden start using it.
The F-bomb?
Yeah.
Well.
It's out of character. It's like me, I do drop the F-bomb all the time, and all of a sudden I start saying fiddlesticks instead. It'd be strange.
You are out of character on this show at times.
I know,
all
it's
the
weird.
time.
It's weird. It's hard.
I've been getting better about it.
Well, I try. But,
That's an interesting thing. I'm going to talk about self-censorship. Doing the show and then just doing other shows like Brandon's show. I keep my language clean because he generally, actually, I want to say Brandon slips more than me and Jesse ever have on his own show.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like being a guest in someone's house, though,
Yeah.
You let them set the tone.
But I found when I do EMG radios where I don't have to censor myself and I'll drop an F-bomb.
It starts to feel weird, huh?
It does feel weird. It's almost like, am I just forcing it? Do I sound like a 13-year-old who just discovered that he could say this and it's rad? Like, I do feel weird about it.
That's why I didn't cuss until I was an adult. Because I always felt stupid, so I'm like, yeah, I'm just not going to do it. And then when I started, it just wouldn't stop.
Well, in normal conversation with you, it's not a thing.
But that's because I make you feel comfortable, baby. You can do all kinds of things with me that you can't do with other people.
Yep. It's very true. So yeah, anyway, talk about going off the rails.
But it's a good conversation, and it's been kind of happening,
Mm-hmm.
It's something I definitely wanted to talk about since the Wolverine 3 getting an R rating news came out, and then the Batman v Superman. I was like, oh man, okay, this is something worth discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't. Go ahead.
The worst part is that I agree with you. Like, if they're gonna do Old Man Logan, I really would like to see that be rated R, because having read Old Man Logan, it would be pretty awesome in that kind of rating, but I don't know if it can be because of the fact that kids love Wolverine and they've seen him in how many movies now?
Yeah, but if they market, okay, well, first of all, would it be Hugh Jackman still?
This would be the last Hugh Jackman.
Wolverine. You mean the one that's coming out now? I thought you meant if they later made one. Mm-hmm. Okay, well then maybe not. But if they made it later with a different actor and didn't push it at kids, I think it would be okay.
I don't I want an R-rated Wolverine movie because it'd be cool. I can't remember if it was, no, Wolverine wasn't hardly in First Class. Maybe it was either. He
dropped the only F-bomb in First Class is what he did.
That's such a good point though. You're right. Because he is the character that fits that. Mm-hmm. He can do that. It's appropriate to his character. No, I don't remember if it was X2 or X-Men 3. I tried to block that one out. But there's a couple times where, and then in this last Wolverine movie, The Wolverine, there's a couple times where he went pretty wild. And the way they shot it, like he'll go into somebody's chest with his claws, but the way they shoot it, you don't see the gore, you don't see the claws coming out. Like they shoot it so it's still somewhat tame. But when he goes crazy, it's like, yeah, that's Wolverine. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for them to really explore that extreme violent angle of Wolverine without going. I'm
not really even sure the comic book does. I mean, I know they get crazy.
Do you remember old man Wolverine though?
Yeah, but
he was cutting people's heads in slices.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. If his claws are that strong, he should be turning everyone there should be pieces of people everywhere all the time.
Well, sometimes there are, but also he joined the X-Men. He can't be raging all the time like that.
Okay, then but then don't stick your claws out. Just stand there and growl at people or stay home. There's I don't. That's
just say snick.
He just says it.
It's just like snicks, bub.
And then he just sits there and gets more and more angry because he can't do anything.
Yeah. Well, I guess he could walk in front of everybody with his arms and hands out and be their shield or something.
Wolverine's kind of an interesting case because it would be purely violence. Mm-hmm. Maybe he could drop an F-bomb like he did, but if Wolverine has free reign to drop F-bombs, I don't think it'd be necessary. I don't think they'd do that. It would feel weird. But in First Class, it was appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was funny. It had purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be purely the violent thing, unless they wanted to ramp up the sex, but that's kind of weird too. Wolverine doesn't strike me as a very sexy character. He's animalistic,
he's always got his like female love interest, and there's oftentimes a hookup. But yeah, to make that like a focus of a movie would be weird. That's not what he's about.
Exactly. It wouldn't seem appropriate. Not like, like maybe some of the sex scenes in like Jessica Jones. That seems appropriate for the characters and the subject matter and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see Wolverine. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that's what Wolverine is about.
Even Daredevil is maybe a little more, hanky panky than Wolverine, And Daredevil's, constantly getting beat up. So there's that.
And another thing about like the studio, I guess it's not so much an R-rated comic book movie is what surprises them. It's R-rated.
Yeah. And that's what kind of surprises me anyway, because okay, it's Deadpool. You'd think Deadpool would be R-rated, but I would be more surprised that the Deadpool movie did as well as it did, regardless of its rating. I mean, I liked it. I was excited for it. I didn't realize so many other people in the world were as well.
Well, people like Ryan Reynolds, despite the fact that his movies, but the studios only look at numbers. I mean, it's like any other business. They just look at numbers. Mm-hmm. And his movies have done progressively worse and worse and worse. And you'll see him pop up they have.
I don't know. I think he's a mountain guy. It's like all of them up and down and up and down and up and down in quality and in how well they do.
They don't look at quality though.
Well, that's part of their problem.
And you got Green Lantern, which did okay numbers, but was still a flop. I think it lost them money.
Yeah. I never saw it. I don't even barely remember it happening. I blame marketing.
It was advertised all over.
Oh, well, I didn't see it.
They had merch in like fast food chains and
yeah.
I'm not a child.
Maybe
that's where they went right. They market to the adults who are the people with money.
Deadpool marketed all over. I don't know what they put in the movie, but they had a Super Bowl spot. They definitely put money into marketing.
Yeah, I think in one of the things where they were talking about them having made a lot of money, Ryan Reynolds tweeted a thing with him and the marketing team because he's like, they're the reason that we did as well as we did because they were brilliant.
Well, and I think the leaked test footage had an awful lot to do with the success of this movie. It's like everybody then was like, this is the movie that didn't get made and it should get made. And if it ever does get made, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad that worked well for them because it kind of makes me the stuff that I've seen of Suicide Squad made me less excited for it.
Suicide Squad. Now,
is that rated R?
No, not as far as I know. There was talk of course, there's talk of every movie then like after,
Right.
After Deadpool
it would make
out.
Sense. That one would almost make sense,
right?
Too.
Exactly. Yeah. That one makes sense, but I think at this point, I mean,
they put Will Smith in it. Come on.
Well, yeah, I know.
I think stick PG-13.
I think they are hoping for a strong teenage turnout for that.
I don't think so.
Have you seen it? Have you seen these trailers?
I've seen the trailers.
That's not
the Nerdist parody of a trailer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's sick.
No, I know what they're doing, but I still think that most teenagers aren't gonna care. They're not gonna be into it the way that people who actually read comic books and are into the culture.
But that's that's the teenagers and young 20-something. That's the demographic. Those are the people that just have money to burn. I mean, teenagers don't have the most money, but what money they have, it's just disposable.
It's not going to go towards bills.
Exactly.
Whatever.
I know you're arguing with the logic of it, and I understand that. But the point is, that's the demographic the studio wants. That's why we don't get, and Jesse mentioned something about R-rated movies can go to PG-13, and they can, but usually not very well. In my opinion, that's why we get an Alien versus Predator that's a PG-13. There's certain things, it's not appropriate for the characters. Like, when it comes down to it, it's not appropriate for the characters to tone it down, and those were terrible movies anyway. But
but they shouldn't have been. Predator versus Alien should have been miraculous.
Truth.
But it was terrible.
I know.
And that's because it's just a...
The first time I saw that, I blamed it sucking on the person I was dating at the time because he made us late to the movie, and I'm like, we missed the beginning, so now the whole movie sucks. But then I saw it later, and I
missed a scene at the beginning that would have made all this awfulness seem better somehow.
It had to be. But then I realized later I was wrong. So
I think Transformers did that though. Like the fact that Peter Cullen's voice opened the first movie made some of what followed forgivable, at least for the duration of the movie, the first watching.
Well, even the first Transformers, I was like, it was okay. It's okay.
Yeah, and then it all went downhill.
And I have a feeling if I watch the first Transformers now, I mean, maybe this isn't fair to the first Transformers movie, knowing what come after, I'd probably be like, oh, what was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's as bad as you think.
Yeah.
I'm a lifelong Transformers fan, and it really, I feel dirty saying that because of Michael Bay.
Well, I didn't really care for any of them, but I liked Transformers when I was younger. But when the movies came out, my nephew killed it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it was Transformers everything all the time.
Which, was something, when Incredibles came out, I was okay with it. But Transformers, no. Cars, no. There's some certain things, you see it more than like 3 times in a day, and you're like, never again, please.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's 2 more.
Well, that's an overexposure kind of issue. But it's also a quality issue. Like, it's not a good movie, so.
No, yeah. Sorry, we're talking about this a long time.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
It took us a lot of directions. That's the thing.
It did. So.
There are comics we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should get to that one.
I've been waiting for like a Flash segue. It hasn't happened.
Oh, no, because that will never be rated R.
Nope. Exactly. Nor should it be.
Nope.
Flash would not be a character that it would be appropriate for.
No, not in any possible way.
Mm-mm.
Well, maybe like in what we read, where there's, not a Flash that is being bad and doing not Flash things.
But still.
Wait, what? What?
Still.
What are you talking about?
Okay. I'll tell you what what she's talking about. Okay, so our poll list pick, which reminds me, Jesse, do you happen to have
I am
tab?
Pulling it up right now.
Before we get into what we're going to talk about this episode, every month we read a book recommended to us by listeners and visitors to the website. If you go to grawlixpodcast.com and click I think I just retitled it the poll list tab.
Yep.
You can vote, and every month whatever's got the most votes, that's what we read the following month and discuss on the next episode.
And we have seen some changes as of today.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. They must be recent.
Well, the lead is still the lead, but we have a second place, which was tied like in a 4 or 5-way tie, and now we have a definitive second place.
Nice.
So, for next month, we will be reading Fun with Milk and Cheese with 21% of the votes. Usagi Yojimbo is second place with 15% of the votes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a 4-way tie between DC The New Frontier, which is a new jump up. Thor, The Goddess of Thunder, Star Wars Dark Empire, and Superman Secret Identity. All of those are quality. I am excited about reading any one of those.
Nice. New Frontier. Yeah, that one just jumped up today.
Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't even vote, and the one I wanted to read won.
Nice.
Thank you, listeners. You rock.
I don't think Usagi Yojimbo was second before either. I think it was down in the tie. And I think it got a vote today, too.
I'm very excited for Usagi Yojimbo.
Do I know what that is?
I don't think so.
Huh?
We're going to have to talk about that one because, like, how long has that character been around? We're going to have to figure out what we're reading.
Yeah, that's a good point. Most of the time I assume just whatever we can find for the first, like, if there's a first trade.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's, like, that you, like, picked certain... Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd. Yeah, that was another. Judge Dredd's been around so long. I couldn't find like a definitive like read this. So we kind of picked and choose and since there's so many like just short little snippets, short stories of Judge Dredd. Yeah, that one we jumped around.
Yeah.
we've been lucky in that most of our pull list picks have been very specific. Like Fun with Milk and Cheese is a trade, I believe. Usagi Yojimbo is a character, so that gets a little bit trickier. Same thing with, it looks like we've got The Tick is a new addition to our list here.
Yeah, that one was added just recently. Yeah.
But Superman Secret Identity, that's easy because that's a trade.
I bet Jesse has it.
I have that one.
See, I knew it.
Yeah, with certain ones.
That one is, all these are great. And there are a few I haven't read that I'm super excited about, but even the ones I haven't read, kind of excited about.
Yeah, I am excited. I did go through not long ago, and the ones that had 0 votes, which were ones that we had added way back at the beginning so that there was kind of a list. They were stuff from our collective list of shame. I got rid of those. Because nobody voted on them. And so now we can truly say everything on that list is stuff that was selected by listeners. We didn't add anything on that list.
I like that.
So the whole list is stuff that is just recommendations.
Did you still keep a list of shame so we can unshame ourselves someday?
Oh yeah, there's still a list of shame saved somewhere.
Okay.
But
I'm surprised that a lot of our list of shame still has not hit the poll.
No, I know.
Oh, that's not to say it won't happen though.
There's a lot of stuff that has popped up on the poll list that I would not have guessed. And some stuff I had never heard of.
Me as well.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we've already read that's been good. That because when I was coming up with like my list of shame and stuff to maybe put on the list 2 years ago when we were setting the site up and stuff, I went through a lot of like required reading and like top 10 this comics and this and that. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff that didn't even appear on those lists that have popped up that I found really enjoyable.
Well, maybe not all of them, but I remember a lot of it was you made a list and you made me go look around and make a list of stuff I wanted to read, and then stuff that we both had, we were like, there we go.
Yeah.
That was fun.
And that list is still around.
But I like making lists anyway.
Yes, you do. Okay, so next episode we will be discussing Fun with Milk and Cheese, which is something I am not aware of. I'm not familiar.
It's an Evan Dorkin, which I can't say that I've read this one, but I have been an Evan Dorkin fan for a while. He did the adaptation of the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey movie into comic form, and then they did a Bill and Ted's comic after the fact, and I have all that collected, but I have not read Milk and Cheese. I've only heard of its greatness.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and it's something different.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but in my brain, I really don't know anything about it besides the title. And apparently now that it's made by Evan Dorkin, which is, I'm sorry for that guy for growing up with that name, but it makes me think of Chew for some reason. That's what I feel like it would be.
Yeah.
I haven't read Chew, but I think that they would be good bedfellows.
Yeah.
If that's the correct term.
I
think so.
Yeah.
I know that Evan Dorkin and Ethan Nicole. Ethan Nicole is one half the brainchild of Axe Cop. I know that they work together in a publication, like a company or whatever. And so I think, if that lends any kind of context.
I like Axe Cop. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, not all the time, but yeah.
So you know who else was a cop of sorts?
Barry Allen. He was a scientist cop, right?
Whoa, science cop.
I finally got my segue.
Yes.
So, however, the book that was our last winner was The Flash, The Return of Barry Allen, and we have all read it this month.
Yep.
Some of us might have read part of it today, Melanie.
Just the last part of the last book.
Guess who's not a Flash on reading The Flash? Actually, no, you did blow through that quick. You just got it.
And in my defense, there are, Invincible, not Incredible. There are 16 books, not issues, books of Invincible on my phone.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have given you those books to read.
Yeah. No, I like them. I want to read them, but I just, I had to tear myself away.
So
speaking of things we're not talking about, Vision is another comic that I would love to talk about, but we probably won't have time to.
Maybe we can set aside a future episode for some more Vision talk, or for some Vision talk. I don't think, Melanie, you haven't read it yet, have you?
No.
You're gonna love it.
Am I?
I think you will.
It's
Okay.
incredible. I was delighted. I was delighted and surprised. Would have never thought the Vision would be so intriguing.
Yeah, the Vision, Tom King. Oh man, we didn't even talk about Tom King stuff. And okay, moving on. We got to get going. Here we go. The Flash.
Wally West.
The Return of Barry Allen. We read The Flash, Volume 2, issues 74 through 79, which you can find collected in the Return of Barry Allen trade.
There's one that we missed, and it was a annual of Green Lantern. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. Yep.
That doesn't count.
It is collected in the actual trade. We read the individual issues.
Okay.
But I mean, it still felt, I didn't realize that till today looking up this bit of information.
Mm-hmm.
But it still felt cohesive. I didn't know we missed anything. But it makes sense because
Well, sure, when it has the little asterisks and then the
yeah, I was going to say they have a little asterisk, but other than that, it wasn't much of a hiccup.
So this is written by Mark Waid, pencils by Greg LaRocca. I think I'm saying that right. Inks by Roy Richardson, color by Matt Hollingsworth, letters by Tim Harkins, and it was originally released in 1993. This is volume 2 of The Flash, by the way.
This was released in 93, really?
Yeah. Well, they kind of, I want to say DC and maybe Marvel. DC, they kind of held on to the older style of printing and paper, before going to the more glossy look that kind of like rose up during the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the new stuff better. Not that the art, it's sharper, cleaner, less fuzzy now than
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was still a traditional model of like dot matrix printing at that point.
And it really wasn't until what, like, Image Comics kind of came up and the rise of
I didn't notice it.
All that.
I really didn't notice it until like Marvel did their Ultimate run, where they started to do the slick paper and the digital printing.
But yeah, in the 90s, the artists kind of became like the rock stars of it.
Yeah.
More so than like the writers, or at least that's the way it seems now in retrospect when people talk about it. So then more attention kind of got put on the presentation and also collectability. So more money was put into the paper stock and stuff like that.
I'm surprised it took them that long. Because, story is important, obviously, but...
Hey, kid, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yep.
You're looking at it, though. It's a visual medium. You'd think they'd want it to be as, freaking beautiful as they could make it.
Yeah, but they were still just big companies, and they're look at numbers and bottom line and all that.
There we go. Companies. Psh.
Oh, yeah.
And that really hit in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Jesse could tell you. He knows about it.
Well, I feel like I had this conversation. Maybe not on this episode, but in the 90s is when they really saturated the market with all sorts of titles that didn't, there was no cause for it to have a title. Like The Ray was one that came out. I think it was a DC title. Damage was a DC title. There were all sorts of solo titles that started to come out because businessmen, this almost calls back to our R-rated talk in that businessmen said, okay, look, we can saturate the market. We can extend our brand with all these things. And it wound up making Marvel Comics go bankrupt or at least file for it,
The bubble.
Yeah, and so you had all these gimmicks like hologram covers and foil covers, and that was the big thing in the 90s. And it was saturate the market with all these titles, and we'll make more money because there's more product out there to buy, and it just wasn't the right fit for comics. So
yeah, and then we'll saturate the shelves with new number ones, so people have to pick up the new number. Wait, no, that's something else.
And make them bi-monthly. Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit. That happened in the 90s too. Yeah. Yep, you're right.
Okay.
So The Flash, The Return of Barry Allen. I don't know where to start with this.
It calls back to Crisis on Infinite Earths in that's when Barry Allen disappeared.
Yeah, at this point, Wally West is the Flash.
Yep.
And
who was the previous Kid Flash.
I didn't even know there was such a thing. There shouldn't be.
There's a kid everything.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, essentially, even if they didn't call it Kid,
Was it
whatever.
Aqualad? Is that the kid version of Aquaman?
Yep, Aqualad.
Did you see the thing that I posted? I'll ask you.
Wow. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
the Grawlix thing.
Okay. I guess I did see it, but that's probably not
Yep.
a podcast conversation.
Except if they want to see it, they could also go there.
Your mind is wandering, Melanie.
That's because I'm a woman.
Which doesn't work well in Why the Last Man. Call back to a future or a previous episode.
A future previous
or
episode.
Yes. Both.
I think you got that a little backwards. I think the men were the ones that it didn't work out so well for.
Okay.
I think we're both right.
Yeah, you're right.
The Return of Barry Allen Part 1. This is being pulled from Comic Vine. Barry Allen has apparently returned from the dead, but his successor, current Flash, Wally West, is somewhat skeptical. Regardless, the two speedsters must team up to prevent an assassination attempt on a mob boss. Wally and Linda West, Jay and Joan Garrick, and Hal Jordan are, sorry for my reading, are having a New Year's Eve party when Barry Allen, who is supposed to be dead, shows up at their door. For some reason, I felt like that's like the intro to like a sitcom.
Door.
A dead man shows up at the door.
Laugh track.
How long was he gone?
Oh,
It was like years, right?
Yeah. Crisis happened in the 80s, and this was in the 90s, so
like a decade?
potentially, yeah.
Okay.
Without looking it up.
I want to say,
Maybe.
I don't know why I want to say this, but I want to say Crisis was like 87. I have no basis for this fact, but I think I'm right.
Okay.
So at least 6 years. Long time.
You're pretty close. 85 to 86. Really close.
Yeah.
You were so close.
So yeah, basically, I read this almost a month ago now.
Mhm.
Basically, yeah, Wally West is skeptical. He's just not. Barry Allen shows up, and apparently Hal Jordan's ring confirms that it's the real Barry Allen, which is odd now that I think about it.
Not that it's the real Barry Allen, that he's telling the truth.
That's it. He goes all
Yeah.
Wonder Woman lasso style, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And so everybody's like, "Yay, you're back!" But Wally West is still.
That high pitch, too.
They did. Oh,
They
yeah.
all changed pitch.
And I'm pretty sure that was denoted somewhere in the
Yeah, asterisk.
Yep.
Higher pitch.
So yeah, Wally West is he it's kind of interesting. I did like that aspect of it because he's skeptical because his like mentor's back, who he thought was dead. So he's kind of dealing with it on this emotional level of like, this is too good to be true. Can it really be him?
Mhm.
But it almost also kind of plays on an interesting, like, it plays on his insecurities as to like, well, I'm not good enough to be the Flash. And I mean, obviously we get into a big jealousy thing with quote unquote Barry Allen, but I think there's a little bit of that at play with Wally West as well. Like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do now that the real Flash is back?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. It was all right.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, it's superhero world, so you know, it's hard for me to, I don't know, because if someone came back from the dead, I would want to like DNA testing, and they should be in a bubble for like 3 months. That's how I would feel about it personally.
Oh,
but I know this is
Barry
superhero world, and
Allen,
it's
Bubble
different.
Boy, too.
So,
Well, then
Yeah.
Wally West is acting rationally as you would. I don't think he's acting irrational. I'm just saying, reading into what the character's giving me.
Mhm. But I also feel that what you were talking about with the insecurity thing and whatever
Plays into that big time.
he is very much like me, or I'm very much like him, I should say, because I like when I like someone and I think they're good at something, I won't let myself be good at whatever they're good at because it's their thing and I don't want them to not like me because of it.
Interesting.
I do that to myself, and I wish I wouldn't, but I do.
You identify with Wally West.
Yeah, I do. Which is
You're not alone in that department.
Yeah.
Wally West is much beloved. In fact, that ties into a lot of speculation for Rebirth, which was in the last episode.
Wet blankets.
Super quick sidetrack. I missed a big opportunity naming that last episode. For whatever reason, I simply named it Rebirth ? I should have named it at least Wet Blanket Rebirth or something. That's more attention grabbing. And I thought about it. I don't know why I went with the straight up Rebirth, but anyway.
You're like, it's quicker to type. I need to get this done.
Probably SEO and quickness and
Uh-huh.
Gotta get it done in a flash.
Oh, nice segue.
Melody.
Right back. Right back. I like it.
A couple other things I liked. Oh man, I'm gonna have to look them up. But I've never read any Wally West stuff. I've never read a lot of Flash stuff. And the little bit of Flash I think I've hit on is Flash showing up in the older event books that I've read, like Crisis. Just the different Crisis books and stuff like that. And then some New 52 stuff, which is not Wally West, or at least
one Identity Crisis, which you could find in the last episode.
Oh yeah.
Archive diving.
Yeah, that was Wally West. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't read a whole lot, so I didn't really know the character. I find him kind of interesting. I do like, and this is coming at the same time that we're watching, The Flash with like 3 different versions of The Flash in the series, or at least characters based on The Flash. Mm-hmm. You got Jay Garrick, you got this quote unquote Barry Allen, and you've got Wally West. So they're just from like an outside of the comic book appeal, there was some fun in reading this story at the same time as watching these 3 Flashes or these 3 characters on the TV show. Mm-hmm. I got a big kick out of that.
And go ahead.
Oh, at the risk of like spoiling some of the discussion, the show has actually dipped into this territory where this trade actually covered. It was like, oh my, they are referencing this a little bit, but in a weird sideways way.
No, the part of the reason that I liked this story as much as I did is because, and it actually early on, like very early on in the Flash, like as soon as there was talk of the Reverse Flash, I went on this giant Wikipedia binge of
trying to figure out who, like, the
Reverse Flash and Zoom and all this stuff and like researched it. And so every time it comes up I'm like, ooh. Yeah, I even spoiled the possible
TV show
who is
stuff.
Zoom because I knew who.
Yeah, no, Melanie, you definitely you researched Reverse Flash and all that, and you seem fascinated by his very convoluted backstory according to Wikipedia. Of course, Wikipedia, they try to put all these stories and like detail the information.
Yeah, they made a timeline that was all jacked up.
So I got through this. Yeah. I got through the Return of Barry Allen before you hit it, and by the time I got to the end, I was like, "Oh, Melanie, you got to read this. I think you'll be interested in this."
Well, yeah, that was one of that was like one of the first things of it. Yeah, and I think it's great. It is. It's fantastic. It makes me happy.
Yeah,
that's like one of the best ways for a bad guy to become a bad guy. It's like that's probably what happened to the Joker.
He accidentally met Batman.
No, he accidentally found out that he was his nemesis, and he's like, "Oh, great, that's just great." He started laughing and couldn't ever stop, and now he's the Joker.
Okay. Now we're skipping a bunch of story, but do we just want to jump to the big spoiler of this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
We almost have to. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, because basically the crux of the story revolves around, is this Barry Allen or isn't it? Because he's acting really weird.
He starts being like super jealous, and then like he basically goes on a tirade. He becomes like a villain.
Yeah.
I'm the only Flash. You all forgot about me.
Mm-hmm.
You forgot about Dre.
Acting like, yeah.
Dr. Dre's dead. He's locked up in my basement.
At no point did I get up today as like, we're going to get some Eminem quotes in today's Grawlix.
out of Jesse, of all people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack.
Well, maybe it's because we missed the Green Lantern issue, but the end really did it for me. Because if that hadn't been there, it kind of felt like it just flopped or flipped too quick to me.
Yeah, I would agree with you a little bit there. Like his turn was real fast.
It's like that while he's convinced, and then instantly, okay, never mind, completely wrong.
Yeah,
and I didn't necessarily care.
And I have facial hair. Nothing says depressed like facial hair.
Oh,
At least on Flash, yeah.
That was one thing that, and you know, maybe this makes more sense with the character. We talked a little bit about his insecurities, but I thought it was really odd how quick Wally West was. Like, he just threw in the towel. He's like, "Oh, I'm done. I'm not gonna be Flash. I'm not gonna be anything." Like he really flipped super quick.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, it's not. He wasn't just like his mentor. Didn't he kind of like help raise him for a while? And
well, his super speed was the result of the same kind of accident, as was someone else that I hesitate to spoil.
No, I think we could go ahead and get into it. Spoilers on a comic book from 1993.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's valid though. I mean, it's fair to give a spoiler warning on something that
we hadn't read it.
Exactly.
So Barry Allen wasn't Barry Allen. Barry Allen was
the Reverse Flash.
Well,
Ebert Thawne.
Yeah, or whatever you want to call him.
I want to call him Ichabod Crane. I know that's not his name, but that's what my brain likes.
Not the Reverse Flash, the Headless Horseman.
One and the same.
Or not even the Headless Horseman. The victim of the Headless Horseman.
Yeah. Well, that just makes it so much less appealing.
Well, yeah, so basically, Ebert Thawne from the future, we find out that this is actually his origin as the Reverse Flash. So what happened with the Reverse Flash before this point between Ebert and Barry Allen was that all happened somehow in the future for Ebert Thawne.
Mm-hmm.
And this winds up being his origin story, where he shows up totally obsessed with the Flash and wanting to, like meet him and hero worship and all that. And
so basically, he is the River Song to Barry Allen.
Oh no!
Wow.
Oh no!
I guess. So I have a question real quick. This is a bit, I think, in that second issue of this whole thing, between Wally West and, I don't know her name, his girlfriend, or I'm assuming.
Linda Carter?
Yeah.
She looks like Linda Carter.
Where he's thinking about, or where, he's she's suggesting maybe new names since the Flash is back.
Uh-huh. Was that in something?
It was in this comic book.
Okay.
It's going to be real awkward in the show when Wally West starts hitting on Linda Carter, who is Barry's ex-girlfriend. That's going to be real weird.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question about Quicksilver. Now,
okay.
I read this conversation and I was very amused because I know Quicksilver, there's a Marvel character, a speedster,
Yep,
who is Quicksilver, and they're going through these names and
they're totally referencing that.
Okay, I thought so, but then later there's a whole bunch of speedsters in this book.
Well, I enjoyed that.
And
part
there's
a lot
one
too.
that went by a couple names, and at one point they reference him going by Quicksilver. They call him he's an older speedster or something. But anyway, yeah.
But they were
Max Mercury, which is a Easter egg in the show too.
Because I figured this was because at one point she's like Quicksilver, and he says very taken. And I was very amused by that.
Yeah.
But then there was that character, a DC character that was Quicksilver at one point, so.
Yeah, and Max Mercury went by that same name too, I believe, is what they were saying too. So it's taken twice.
Yeah, I was very amused by that. In fact, that whole conversation between those two, there was a couple really good things in it that cracked me up, and I was trying to find more, but that's okay. We can move on.
No, that was a fun little meta moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I could almost swear that the naming conversation was in the Flash at some point in time, in either one of the cartoon movies I've seen or the show. Like almost that exact conversation.
I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I can say I got nothing.
I don't know why, but there was, I don't know if it was like an ad for one of like the next issue or something like that. It was talking about too many Flashes or something. And I was just imagining like for some reason there'd be like a bunch of Flashes from all over time and they'd all show up and it'd be craziness. But it was just some other people that are fast, and I'm like, that's even better.
There was a lot of speedsters. Yeah, I enjoyed the battle. The couple of fights between the speedsters and Yabad. I thought those were pretty cool.
I really like that I don't know if he is the oldest, but at least one of the oldest guys is all like, you gotta be, flexible or whatever, doing like gymnastics stuff all around, like running circles around these guys. I'm like, that's awesome. I love it.
There is some, I do have some beef with the big reveal of him being Iyabod. Okay, so the ring sensed, and I'm glad you pointed out that he was telling the truth, at least that he believed he was telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But that must be some awesome surgery.
Yeah.
Awesome future surgery, to convince everybody that he, and also it falls a little bit into the convenient, amnesia thing where time travel causes amnesia.
But it wasn't time travel. He came here, he arrived knowing who he was. It was when he found out that he was Flash's nemesis that he got the amnesia from the shock of it. Because he went to the museum and looked through the history and then found out who the Reverse Flash was, because in the future they didn't know. And when he got here, he saw who it was him, and that's when he lost his mind for a minute.
But it also did when they sent him back, or tricked him into sending himself, however it worked.
Yeah.
It was I'm sure it's fine. He'll have amnesia when he gets back. He won't remember any of this. Which kind of makes it invalid that this is the reason he hates the Flash. Because if he goes back to the future and he won't remember any of it, he goes back in time.
Okay.
When he goes back to the future, he won't remember any of it. Then it's like none of it happened, and therefore that's not really the reason he hates Flash. If not, maybe on a subconscious level. I don't know. There's problems. There's problems. It's not perfect.
This is his origin, which is a total nod to the show.
Yeah, that's true. But he got to remember.
Yeah.
In the show.
Well, I think it's silly of them to assume that he wouldn't remember, because obviously he does.
It is silly of them they have no basis on the fact that he wouldn't remember this.
Right.
That's just a very, nope, it's all wrapped up fine in a bow.
And if
next episode,
if Barry used the time treadmill thing, wouldn't he not have remembered who he was if that was an effect of it?
Yeah, it's problematic, but whatever. It's okay. I enjoyed the read. Partway through, after the big reveal, I was kind of like, what? But it worked out in the end. It had me back on board.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. The Wikipedia timeline for him, though, is even better. It gets great.
It sounded like a horrible mess.
It's like he has time travel Swiss cheese brain from messing with his own timeline too much, and that's awesome.
I do like that, and I mean that kind of plays into the whole no, it'll be fine. He won't remember whatever. He won't remember how he died. I think, which is the big issue, is not so much remembering the situation, but remembering that he gets killed by the Flash and this and that is problematic.
Yeah. Well, maybe they've seen the future and they know that he has Swiss cheese brain in the future because he time travels too darn much.
Final thoughts on this?
I liked it. Maybe we should go back, you and I, that is, and read that Green Lantern issue. Maybe it'll fill in some thing.
I think that episode is just supposed to be Barry Allen, turning on everybody some more.
Oh.
Quote unquote Barry Allen.
Nah, I think it was perfect right where it was, the reaching his hand and then being like, nah, never mind. Sucker.
That did play fun. I found it, especially when I thought it was Barry Allen. I was like, what a big, he kind of lost.
Jerk move.
It was a jerk move, but super jerk move that didn't seem warranted at first. It was, because it does pull into that, it's such a quick turn. But, it in the end, it makes sense because it wasn't Barry Allen anyway.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a very quick read for me.
It was a great first introduction to the Flash on this podcast, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the first one I would have picked, but I don't know. It was a really good one. So
it was definitely
I'm glad it was.
Definitely a good one for me.
Yeah, I would say as us two people that haven't read much or any Flash, you would think maybe it's a little convoluted of an intro, but I think it's a perfect intro because it establishes all the Flashes, gives you a little bit of history on almost all of them. I mean, and I guess it doesn't cover Jay Garrick all that much, but he's there, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and it intros Max Mercury, which is interesting because he's not someone you know about, but he's a Golden Age character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like stories that can pull in DC history without just feeling confusing or just disjointed. And and it didn't strike me as that at all.
No. Well,
right.
In the very beginning, they had them running around together, and I was like, wait a minute, who's talking? Which one is thinking this? I can't tell.
Oh, yeah, you had said something about that.
But then I figured it out, and then I was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark Waid's run is kind of considered like epic run on The Flash. So I'm interested to read more of it after reading this.
Yeah, I would definitely read more. I would continue reading on. I'd go back and search up more of this Flash, this Wally West character, and
well, and it ties back into the last episode. Like the thing people are most excited about, Rebirth, is the return of potentially Wally West.
Well, and sorry, go ahead.
Oh, basically because he's missing from New 52, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that, online I hear a lot of comic book fans complain about DC this and that and that, and that's a common complaint is Barry Allen, Wally West is my Flash, and a lot of people of a certain age, which is seems like the majority of current readers, that's Wally West is their Flash. And Barry Allen was always the Flash that I knew because that's the Flash they used in the old TV show.
Right.
And if he'd pop up on like cartoons and older cartoons, new cartoons are everywhere, all over the place. They pull in all the characters, but older cartoons.
Yeah, they'll say Bart, they'll say Wally, just whoever they feel like.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like older cartoons, if Flash appeared, I can't even think of what he would have been in, but it seems like Barry Allen was the Flash that I knew as a uneducated comic book person.
As a TV comic book person.
Yeah.
Cartoon TV especially.
Yeah,
me too. I agree with you.
Barry Allen, which I think is the reason you've got Barry Allen on The Flash as the main character, because he's the Flash that the layman knows. Right. For whatever reason,
Well, apparently he was the best. Oh, he's the best.
Even
Flash.
Wally West says he was the best.
I know, they all did.
Yeah, that Joe Esposito song plays whenever he's around. It's just, you're the best around.
Wally follows him around.
He's the Karate Kid. That's who he is. Fear does not exist in his dojo.
Good pick, viewers or listeners.
Listeners.
And when people suggest new comics on the poll list, I'll go to it and it'll say other, and then it'll tell me what it is, and I can click add to the list. But it doesn't tell me who picks it. So I don't know who to think, but whoever suggested this, as with pretty much everything that's been suggested so far, thank you, because it was definitely a good suggestion. And like Jesse said, it is a good introduction to Flash comics, I think.
And we've done Green Arrow, and we talk about the Flash all the time, so it's kind of nice that now we have some comic reference to it.
And it makes me appreciate the show all the more when I can be reading the comic book that's got 3 generations of Flash characters in there. And then I watch the TV show and there's 3 different Flash characters, even though Wally West is 1 looks kind of dopey at times and 2 is not a Flash, but not yet.
Right. One thing, Legends of Tomorrow, I am really craving some bad Captain Cold though. Like this Captain Cold we're getting in Legends of Tomorrow is fun, but that's not my Captain Cold.
I've noticed he's a little too, even the other guy, what's his name?
Rory?
No.
Heatwave. Rory.
No, it is Rory, isn't it? Yeah, Heatwave.
Yeah.
That's his actual name.
That's his name.
Or his
Rory.
characters.
Yeah, it's really confusing.
That is confusing because I always call the other guy Rory because he is Rory.
He will always be Rory, even if he's masquerading as the Doctor right now.
As Rip Hunter.
Yeah.
Time Master.
Sure. Wink.
I think Heatwave's retained still more of the gruff criminal edge, and they've definitely made Captain Cold much more honorable than he seemed in The Flash.
And he's got his own code of honor, but it's very much about taking down the Flash and not being a hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he like Catwoman without the love interest going on?
I'm trying to figure out who I would compare him to. He's basically the leader of the gang.
But I assumed that they kind of diverged in the show back in season 1 where they had that conversation where he's like, I know who I can't do his stupid, like the way he acts.
Like him and Wally have like a slight respect for each other, but him and Barry hate each other. Like he was ready to retire, and then Barry Allen comes back in the comics just before Flashpoint, and he's like, "Oh, nope, we got unfinished business." So Captain Cold is, like he's very logical, but he is not a good guy.
Yeah. I figured that too. Even not having read, I know he's like one of the staple villains for the Flash in the Flash's Rogues Gallery. So I figured they kind of were softening him up for TV. And then they announced that he was going to be on Legends tomorrow. And I was like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
The biggest bummer to me is that the most we got for the Rogues is like his main Rogues Gallery is the Rogues. They all team up together. It's like Spider-Man with the Sinister Six. Mm-hmm. It's a group of bad guys that really give the Flash a hard time. And at the very core of it, the leader is Captain Cold. And because he's now a hero on the Legends tomorrow, I am not certain we will get that, which is a real shame.
It's a good point.
Mm-hmm. I think I remember that from one of the animated movies in the museum. They were in the museum and he like froze them to a wall or something.
The animated movie for Flashpoint. I think it was Flashpoint. No, maybe not. No.
Everybody had bombs, and they all had to take them away and blow them up elsewhere. That was what happened after that.
Or was that something else? Yeah, I think it was Flashpoint.
Yeah.
That one's pretty good, but that's the beginning of the DC animated movies kind of losing quality. Although I really like that one. I think that one's good.
I like it too.
But
someone needs to suggest some Aquaman, because on my own I've read a lot of the main people.
I heard really good things about Aquaman in the New 52. From what I hear, he started really strong.
Yeah, same here. I've heard the same.
Okay, well,
maybe some Aquaman will just have to appear on your phone.
He always gets made fun of, and I didn't really want to read Wonder Woman, but it was good, at least for a while.
Oh yeah, you've read almost the whole 52 run of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and I wasn't excited for it. Because I'm like, I'm not, a dominatrix type lady, but some of it was not that great, but a large chunk of it was actually really good. And I'm not sure that I finished it all yet. There might be some issues that I didn't get to once my job actually started to make me constantly be working all the time.
How dare they?
Always be working.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you don't go through comics as fast.
No, because yeah.
Otherwise, I could just buy and download whole runs of stuff and throw it on your phone, and you devour it in like a week.
Yeah.
Corporate America.
Yep.
Yeah, and now they're like, hey, you want to be salary?
Mel might get a promotion.
Ooh.
She does not have an excited look on her face at all right now.
That sounds like corporate America.
Yeah, they're like, you do a really good job. You go above and beyond. We want to make you salary.
Which means
we want to make your job harder.
And you're going to work more hours than you ever have.
Exactly. That's what it's all about right there.
Yeah. But if you were the I don't need it.
If I was the Flash, if I was any of these superheroes.
So right now you feel like The Walking Dead.
Yo.
A little bit, yeah.
Jesse, it's funny you should mention The Walking Dead.
Oh, why is that?
Because that's our next segment. Speaking of Walking Dead, it's I don't know if it's airing yet. What's it, air at 9? It's on tonight.
Yeah, it's on tonight as we record.
So are the Oscars. Ooh.
I wonder if Leo will win.
Finally.
I hope so.
He never wins.
I hope he gets a standing O, because that guy has waited forever. The only person that's waited longer is probably Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
So, Leo, if you don't win, it's because you're not Tom Cruise.
Not short enough.
Leonardo DiCaprio is pretty great, though.
Yeah,
he's really good.
He's really good. Yeah,
he's good, and he has excellent taste in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he picks good roles. Almost 100%.
And directors. I mean, like Scorsese. I mean, duh.
Yeah.
Good one.
And I mean, after he got, or like when he got into movies, as soon as he got into movies, the movies he's been in had a lot of them at least have done really, really well. I'm surprised he hasn't already won many a time over.
It's usually just because there have been even better movies. I mean, like that's the tragedy of it, is like he is Oscar quality. He's just been up against worse competition in the past.
Yeah, and Oscars, they slant towards, like, I don't know. There's a weird way that the Oscars always go. It does depend who he's up against, because there's certain kinds of people that the Oscars really like, regardless if it's a better performance or not.
Yeah.
Well, like when Lord of the Rings won all those awards, like they swept the Oscars that one year. It was like, really? Because The Two Towers was a much better movie than Return of the King, but they're going to win for Return of the King because it's the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know what won't win Best Picture this year, but I'm super impressed that they nominated
Mad Max.
Mad Max. Now, I haven't seen most of the movies it's up against.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll win, and I keep hearing good things about Room, so maybe it shouldn't win, but I'm impressed that it even got nominated.
Yeah.
True.
It's so good.
It is good.
Yeah.
But it's not an Oscar type movie. Like, it's not that kind of movie, but it is.
You mean like Deadpool won't win an Oscar even though it made all sorts of money?
Right.
Yeah, but what was that one that was won Best Comedy?
Oh, Legally Blonde?
No, that was
No.
what was it? It's not, what does the Emmys do? Golden Globes maybe? I don't remember, but at the not Oscars.
At the not Oscars.
Oh, yeah, the Golden Globes, yeah.
The Martian.
The Martian.
In Best Comedy category.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
The Martian.
Yeah.
Which is obviously, we want to give this movie an award, but where does it go? It's a comedy, sure.
It's not as deep as the others, so it must be a comedy.
The clip has him crying. Stranded and crying.
Wow.
And, Best Comedy.
Is it because we're saving Matt Damon again?
Yeah.
That's the comedy of it.
It's right like there. Saving Private Ryan in space.
Oh, no.
But not. Okay. So, The Walking Dead. This is our
The Walking
Dead
is a show that happens on Sundays also.
Yeah.
You're right.
See, that was actually a plausible segue, and that will be airing soon. The Walking Dead, Volume 6, The Sorrowful... I have a hard time with that. Sorrowful Life.
Aww.
Which collects issues 31 through 36. They were written by Robert Kirkman. Pencils and inks by Chari.
Chari.
What's happening?
He's related to Rory.
Yeah. Be a more appropriate name for Heatwave.
Chari. Yeah.
Charlie Adlard. Color. Go ahead and snicker, Melanie. Color, because it's black and white. By Cliff Rathbum. I'm just gonna power through. Letters by Russ Wooten.
Clan?
Wu-Tang?
Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay, and released. The individual issues were released in 2006 and 2007. The trade came out in 2007.
Did they make it out of the prison, or are they still in the prison?
They're still in the prison.
Okay.
What do you mean? They're always in the prison forever, right?
Uh-huh. Forever. Life is a prison. Sorry.
Now, I'm gonna go ahead and pull some descriptions, or, some summaries from Comic Vine. These, I believe, have a more brief summaries. And traditionally, we have gone a little bit more blow for blow in descriptions on the Swamp Studies and Dead Air segments. But also, Melanie needs a refresher because she's probably been like a year since she's read these. In issue number 31, or the first part of The Sorrowful Life, it's Michonne versus the world. And she's completely PO'd with the world. I had to censor this. And Rick will get some unexpected help to get out of this situation. That's pretty vague, isn't it, Melanie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. Okay.
They're still in, what's the town? Woodbury?
Woodbury. In this volume, they get out. They escape.
Okay.
Well, basically, at one point, the governor...
And she has vengeance.
Yeah, the governor pits her into the fight, and she just doesn't even mess around. I don't know why he thinks she would. He's like, just put a show on. She just goes out there and cuts the guy that she's supposed to be fighting, just chops his head off. Basically, and then this random guy ends up helping Rick and Glenn, who is still there, and helps them two. The doctor and his assistant basically tag along. They free Michonne. They get out of there, but Michonne stays back because she's got some business to take care of. And holy crap.
I know, that was one of the things that was so hard not to tell you.
She does some things that really ends up messing her up later. But she does some stuff.
She does something with a spoon.
I forgot about the spoon. She nails things to boards. She burns things. She does things with a spoon that are unspeakable. And I'm not talking about taking the eye out with the spoon either. She ends up getting back, makes crazy time, and catches up with the group, and they're like, how did you catch up? Which it seemed like she was in there for a long time.
Yeah.
Because he was in and out of consciousness. The governor, that is.
Yeah.
She takes revenge on the governor. We don't know that he's dead. I mean, you'd assume he'd want to be. We don't know that he's dead. They left that on clear, which makes me think he's not. They all get out. They go back to the prison. I'm just giving you the whole complete overview of this is going to be the whole story. They get back to the prison. When they get back to the prison, the gates are down, overrun. Glenn is a freaking idiot and gets himself in a car wreck. Maggie! And he's just dumb. But anyway, they get in there. They're okay. They clear the area out. Rick eventually notices one day, and it seems like they've been there, I don't know, a while. He noticed one day the guy that initially helped him break out is gone. And he's like, and it clicks. He's like, that guy is probably, spying on us. And he's going back to tell him where we're at. He hunts the guy down, straight up murders him, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Goes back. I think he's going to have a meeting with everybody or something. But basically, my takeaway from the end is Rick straight up murdered this guy and doesn't care. He's this is the right thing to do. I know that I should feel bad, but I don't. And I think that's what maybe bothers him most is that he doesn't feel bad. And Michonne is talking to herself, having an argument with herself out loud about maybe going too far. And I don't remember exactly how it ends, but that's most of this volume.
Right. Okay. Now, my first comment is Michonne stuff.
Okay.
And she was in an extreme situation, so of course it's extreme. But this is why The Last Man wouldn't have worked, because women get extreme when they go for revenge.
Okay. And
then she was running from the horror of what she had done. And that's why she caught up so quick.
Oh yeah, I like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, what she did was extreme. It's hard. Maybe it's wrong to say this, but I don't think it's unjustified. Like, she was tortured in all manner of horrible ways. So I don't think it was necessarily wrong, but I definitely think she went too far for what her or most any normal person can handle. Like, she's not a monster, and she did monster things. Yeah. And it messed her up.
Yeah.
I don't know that she was wrong to torture the guy in some respect, if you think if you're into that kind of torturing thing, I guess.
But no, the thing is, I kind of am. I mean, like, I'm not into torture, but I appreciate torturing stuff, and that made me go, oh my god, no.
It's really extreme.
It is.
No, the revenge thing, okay, barring the whole moral thing of revenge is wrong.
Yeah.
In any situation. The revenge thing, I don't think she was wrong to go after revenge, but she definitely messed herself up about it, and I find that really interesting.
Well, no, that's good, though.
It's good writing, because it's not just like, she's gonna take revenge, and it's gonna be super hardcore, and then she's gonna be like, yeah, I took care of that guy. They handled it more realistic, where it's like, she's gonna take revenge, it's gonna be super hardcore, and oh my god.
Yeah.
What did she do?
Yeah.
And also, you realizing that her treatment in the comic is quite a bit more extreme than anything she would have gone through in the show.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All of them, really, but especially her. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was way. Yeah. Well, and I guess they scaled it back appropriately in the show, because in the show she takes his eye out with a spoon.
Yeah.
but you didn't see all the other horrible things in the show that might have happened to her, that happened to her in the comic either, so.
Yeah.
And the question was, where did the volume end? Basically, it ended with Rick actually having that meeting and saying, well, this could happen, but we're ready for him.
I couldn't remember if it cut off before the meeting, if the meeting happened, and I just didn't remember what was discussed, but okay, yeah, you're right. I remember now.
One of the things, the feelings I get a lot more from the comic than from the show, and they do it sometimes in the show, but they do it so much more in the comic, at least at certain points, where Rick's not, I don't want to say he's a bad guy, but he definitely has the, we are us, and I'm protecting us. Screw everybody else, kind of a thing. Like, you might be innocent, but you're a threat to us, and us is what I care about. Kind of a thing. And that guy was one of the, where it's very clear, I think.
In this volume, I think it doubles down on the like, holy crap, he got his hand cut off when he arrives back. Yeah. And like Carl comes running and then he stops. He's like, oh, your hand.
Yeah.
And it hadn't even occurred to me until he got back and was walking in. I was like, oh man, they don't even know. Like, he's missing a hand. That's a big deal. It handled that interestingly.
And then Glenn comes back and he's all like, I need to propose marriage.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was like, what is he doing? Like, why is he like?
Yeah. That's the one. Wait, don't kill that one, or don't bury him yet, or
he's like,
something.
Yes, set aside the women corpses, the corpses of the women zombies, and obviously at first you're like, what? And you're like, no, Glenn's not going to do anything weird, but that's a pretty weird request. And then he finds the ring, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
sure, he's shopping.
Yeah.
I liked how the proposal went down. Maggie messing with him. I kind of like comic book Maggie more than comic book Maggie seems to have more of a personality than TV show Maggie. Does that make sense?
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
And comic book Glenn is weird. I mean, he's kind of a wuss.
Yeah, he's like, he's been through hardcore things, but he's not hardcore.
Yeah, it hasn't toughened him up like it has some people. Like Michonne is obviously
right.
And Rick, and they break those people, but but it doesn't seem to have toughened Glenn up at all.
Well, he's got a delicate soul.
He's sensitive. He's a sensitive guy.
Yeah. And, there are only so many phones people can carry around to talk to themselves or dead people. Michonne's is in her head, though, I think. She has a cell phone. I don't know, Bluetooth.
Okay. I'm going to ask a slight spoiler. Do they do the phone thing in the comic book? In the TV show, Rick goes nuts and he's talking to himself via this phone, basically. You just referenced it.
Yeah. I just referenced it. I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine.
But
I was just wondering if
I don't think it's...
Is it with a phone? Do they have, is somebody...
He talks on a phone, but I don't think he carries it around with him.
Okay, that's all. That's all I wanted to know. I was just wondering, and it's cheating, I know. I was asking for a spoiler, but I was wondering if maybe they transposed Michonne's, like, talking to herself, mental break onto Rick in the show, or if Rick has his own, and they just, okay, that's all.
Okay.
So did you guys like this? How did you feel about this following up last volume?
It slowed things down a little bit, but it was still very good. It slowed things down in one regard, and it sped things up in the other regard. Like, all of a sudden, we're getting out of Woodbury, and now we're back to the prison, and that slows things down by virtue of it being a prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I felt it did slow things down a bit, but it was almost like, with the exception of you've got the whole Michonne governor thing, it was almost like a breath. Like a breather after the last volume.
It does make sense. It just was like, whoa, we went from that to a little bit of tedium.
Yeah, you're able to kind of, you've got I guess, that's weird to say because you've got the escape, and the torture thing, and then even Rick going after that guy, but it just felt like last volume was like way up here, and this one was kind of, dip, relax a little bit. There's still crazy stuff happening, but relax a little bit. And
from a writing standpoint, or reading, whichever, look at it, you need action-y stuff anyway, but it was good for them to go and have that, because otherwise the like tension of the prison was so horrible. Everybody's crazy things, you know?
Yeah, it took the crazy outside of the walls for a minute.
Yeah, they really needed it, so it was good.
It did feel like it broke tension without really like lowering stakes at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about this too is that we're reading it as volumes, and it was originally released as monthlies. So I wonder how much that is going to affect the collected trade.
I would think reading this in monthly would definitely be a different experience for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. You're current. You're reading them.
I hate it.
Yeah. But I've noticed from the naming schemes and maybe they retroactively named the arcs. I don't think they did. So far, if you checked out the arcs, they're all named whatever, the Sorrowful Life, Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And every volume is broke up that way. But if you research back and check out the individual issues, and the current issues are like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter title, Part 1 of 6. And also, by the way that Kirkman's releasing Invincible right now is, I think he definitely writes in these arcs, knowing full well that they're going to go into trade. And I think I mean, you can tell there's the cliffhangers at the end of issue breaks, but he definitely writes for the trade, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. You can tell he's got a long game.
Oh yeah, in both of those.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sidetrack, and since I've become a Invincible nut, by the time this episode goes up, it'll be like possibly 2 episodes of Walking Dead ago.
Mm-hmm.
Carl was reading a comic book out in the woods, and it was Invincible. And in this trade, young Carl's reading a comic book, and it was Invincible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, at one point he's reading a book, and it's Invincible.
I didn't catch it because I hadn't known what it was when I read it.
I mean, it makes sense that he would reference his own, like, he owns those, the creator owned. He would reference his own comic, but I noticed it in the show, and I pointed it out, and I was all excited. Mm-hmm. It's Invincible! But then, reading this, I was like, holy crap, young Carl's reading Invincible too.
Young Carl.
Oh yeah. He's definitely much younger.
Yeah. This has nothing to do with anything, but once I was training a Russian, and he barely spoke English, and I was like, and you do this, you do that, and you do this, okie dokie, and he's like, what is okie dokie? And I'm like, oh, damn it. And I'm like, nothing, it's nothing. I just yes, okay?
That was a good story, and I'm on board with any story that starts with, once I was training a Russian.
Yes.
And then you throw the fact that okie dokie was like the key element of the story. That's a good one.
Oh,
That's a nice anecdote.
Oh man, like you would think February being such a short month, we would have less to talk about, but we have so much to talk about.
Oh, I know.
Like so much happened.
Yeah, I agree. There's been a ton.
It's because it's my birth month, and the world always gets excited when it's Melanie time.
We're gonna have to call this like an anniversary episode, but is that next month?
Well,
no, it'd be this month.
The month when this airs, yeah.
Yeah, this would be. Yeah, and I didn't realize it till late, and I was like, oh, I should have come up with something special. I don't know, something. But then again, we already have so much to talk about. We can't like fit in a game or
right
or a list. You like making lists, but I like doing like podcast lists. I was thinking about, although it'd be weird with some of the titles, but like listing all the pull list picks we've done, and then being like, what are your top 5 or your favorite 5?
We could do that we could do that for next month.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Because next month we don't have a second book, so
yeah. Okay, well, yeah, we'll do that. The list is on the website, so I'll go and type it up and send you both a list. Here's what we've read.
Okay, good.
Sweet.
I forget sometimes what is what. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And we've read 2 arcs of New 52 Batman out of all that, so I've been pretty happy with the lists in general.
Yeah.
Never mind. I don't know what got me thinking about that. There's the 2 most recent Batman New 52 arcs. There's great moments.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hearing things, I think, I mean, and I see Alfred's got like his hand chopped off or something.
Yeah, he went all Rick style.
Oh Lord. Riggedy wrecked, son.
Oh, and he is a mess. I mean, he went Rick style, and he didn't get all hard like Rick. He went all soft like Glenn.
Don't even trip, dog.
Yeah, he went all soft like Glenn. He's a mess. But Snyder, I don't know, like, the Court of Owls run was consistently amazing, and not that arc was consistently good, and not that any of his stuff's necessarily bad, but he does these long arcs where, when you're in it, it'll start off strong, and then you'll be like, oh, what's going on? And then he'll just hit you with these couple of things where you're like, okay, all of it was building up to this, and this is awesome, so it was all worth it.
Mm-hmm.
There was the last couple issues, there was a couple just little moments where it's like, this is awesome, and you can't get to this without this happening, and without that happening. So it makes it like retroactively validates all that stuff, even if there was a couple issues where after reading it, I was like, oh, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm. But they're about to reset, right? So Alfred's hand will magically reappear?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll be an actual like reboot, though? I mean, they're hinting that it's not.
I don't think they know what they're doing.
I'm really curious as to what exactly they're going to do, because they also keep talking about pulling back in the old continuity, which they already kind of have. They didn't incorporate it into the new universe, but that whole, what was it with the Convergence? Mm-hmm. The whole Convergence thing was, well, another event to make money, but it was also kind of a, hey, you know, the old continuity that everybody complained that about the New 52 because it made all the old continuity to like not exist. It still exists. It's out there.
Right. So what they'll probably do is kind of like post Crisis on Infinite Earths. They'll pull some of that stuff that's quote unquote still exists, and they'll just have an event that will pull it back in. We'll get Wally West back because he exists in some form of the multiverse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if that's what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. Because Convergence was them saying, instead of New 52 being a hard reboot, none of the other stuff existed, it didn't happen, this is, boom, starting over on our history. Mm-hmm. Convergence was basically saying, no, it wasn't that, it was just Convergence is another or New 52 is another universe, and all that other stuff, the pre-Flashpoint, and all that other stuff in that cartoon universe, that all is still had happened, and it's in alternate universes, so it's all still within the DC universe as a whole.
Multiverse? Yeah,
the multiverse. With that crazy Grant Morrison multiversity run. In the New 52 now, you've got, since Convergence, they have a title of Superman and Lois, I think, which is the...
Yeah, I was hearing about this, where, like, Lois has powers, right? Or
I'm not sure, I haven't read any of it, but that is the pre-Flashpoint Superman and Lois Lane got pulled into the current universe. And
yes,
they've been
that's what I was hearing. That's what it was.
In the New 52.
Weird.
So I'm wondering if they're going to somehow, I don't know, like pre-Flashpoint Batman and Alfred show up and...
Well, that's what I'm talking about. It's sloppy. Because
it's a sloppy mess.
If that's the case, then why couldn't we pull in the Rabbit Batman and have him be Batman? If we're just going to pick and choose whoever we want to show up in a story and be in the current run. You know what I mean?
They can pick, but yeah, it's sloppy, yeah. It's all sloppy. It's been sloppy.
Yeah, that's the criticism right now. It's like, yeah, anything goes, and that means nothing's real.
Yeah, exactly.
And even with the New 52 reboot, a lot of people get upset because it's reboot in general. I've enjoyed a lot of the stuff I've read in it. Mm-hmm. My issue with it is not so much that it's a reboot in general, well, a little bit, but my issue is even the reboot that was supposed to, we're going to restart, reset, and clean up all that mess that the old continuities left. Except as soon as they started making a mess of it instantly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
that's what the original Crisis was supposed to do. It was supposed to clean up all the loose ends, get some of these things that we wanted in the core universe, like Jay Garrick. You know, he didn't exist in the core universe. He was off in some other Earth. And so we're just going to clean it all up. The JSA is here. The JLA is here. Everybody's here in their own little way. And then other stuff is just left. You know, like Barry Allen is going to be a casualty of Crisis. And then, but with New 52, it's like, okay, we're rebooting everything except the things that we aren't.
And Rebirth sounds very much like the Crisis thing of, we're not taking away the current continuity. We're going to bring back the old continuity and we're going to bring back the things you like from... It sounds like the exact same thing as the Crisis thing.
Yeah.
But guess what? There's going to be a JLA book. There's going to be a...
You know what they need to do? They just need to make a a new comic called like DC Stargate or something, where you cross between the universes, and all the crossovers happen in that book. So you only have to read that one, you know, when the book you're reading merges with another one, and then keep all the other things separate.
So they need their own version of Sliders.
Yes.
Both the show and the comic that Marvel did.
Okay.
Did Marvel have a Sliders of a comic?
I believe that's what they called the book that had Blink, where she was sliding between universes with a team.
Oh, interesting.
It was an X-Men's book, and I think it was basically the same premise as the show, though.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think what part of what makes this Rebirth thing seem super sloppy is they just attempted another kind of this DCU thing. I think was kind of an experiment, and for the most part, I think it failed because they were doing things where in Justice League they had the Darkseid War, where you've got regular Bruce Wayne Batman doing his thing with everybody else. At the same time, Batman and Detective Comics, you've got amnesiac Bruce Wayne not doing his thing.
Mm.
You got Jim Gordon Batman, and then you've got these other weird titles popping up that are supposed to be more family friendly, like Batmite and Bizarro and stuff like that, which I heard decent things about some of those books.
Oh, I got it wrong. It was called Exiles. Sorry. Just fact checking myself.
Mm.
So I think that was kind of them toying with the idea of, can we do a book where Superman has no powers? He lost his powers, but in this other book, he's normal Superman. He's all right. And in this other book, it's pre-Flashpoint Superman living in New 52. And I don't think it worked. I don't think people were on board.
Well, they're crazy because it would all work with Sliders universe that they could all do those things in. And they should just have a universe that's all Batman. And that's where Batman's born, and then he's plucked from that universe and put into every other universe. All versions of Batman.
Well, they did that, and they used. Well, they didn't do that exactly, but they had that. It was called Elseworlds, and that's where we got Red Sun Superman. So really, that's what they should do: is just have an Elseworlds book, and they can do whatever they want with it.
I think it's weird that they've pretty much did away with the Elseworlds brand.
That's an awesome thing to say anyway.
Yeah.
Elseworlds? Yeah, it's like Netherlands.
Well, it's like all the out-of-continuity stories.
Netherlands.
Where they can do crazy things. They can have a steampunky Batman or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
I was kind of on board with the current, like, the idea of having, you know, in Justice League, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they're all their normal selves, and they're doing crazy, awesome stories. And then in the individual books, you've got whatever else is actually happening to them. Like, so you've essentially got different versions of these characters running around. You don't know how they correlate together, which is fine because in my mind that discourages crossovers because then it becomes even more messy.
Uh-huh.
But I was listening to this comic book podcast and he was interviewing Tom King, who is the writer of Vision, who's rumored to be taking over Batman, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And Tom King had said something that kind of put me on board the other way. He had said, the problem with something where you have multiple characters, you can tell whatever stories, you know, you're not so concerned about continuity is if you're reading a book, say there's two books, you got Batman in this book doing his thing, Batman in this book doing his thing. They're supposed to be in the same universe, but you know, we're going to kind of be loose with the continuity. You kill Batman in this book. Since Batman's still technically not dead, he's over here also doing that. It loses impact. Like, it's a comic book character, you know that character's going to come back, but if there's still that consequence of Batman dies here and he's gone for a year or a month, however long, there's still consequence, so there's still some impact. But if you kill a character when they're still showing up in 2 or 3 other books, there's no impact, and it takes away from
kind of like when Damian died. If they had not respected that in the Snyder run,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If the other books hadn't, and sometimes it messes up stories, so that does suck. But I totally seen his point, and it kind of got me on board for, yeah, maybe they should have a tighter continuity. I don't like the crossovers. I hate when somebody's telling an amazing story, and because this other writer decided to kill this character, it screws up this other story totally. But I do see his point with the character deaths having impact and consequence.
In all seriousness, the best option really is have a character has this is their actual story. And, the characters from the other stories can interact, but it's the same people. They have to, have a meeting together and figure out, how, what's going on in their books so that they don't screw stuff up. And then have other writers come and do graphic novels. Bam, that's all it is. Different stories, other stuff happens. It's not part of that.
And that
line.
used to happen more.
That's that would be the ideal way to do it.
That's how we got Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
That's how we got a lot of great stories.
Right.
That would be the Elseworlds, and not even just the Elseworlds. There's stories that were still closer to the actual continuity, but just out of continuity stories.
Uh-huh.
Like Kevin Smith's run on Batman.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying, I don't know why they're trying to make it all into... I mean, I realize some things were obviously written that way. I don't know why they're trying to shove all these things into, monthly things all the time.
I find it weird that DC, when they did the New 52 reboot, they did away with those out-of-continuity stories, and I think that was troublesome. Mm-hmm. They didn't... Yeah. You didn't have the Elseworlds. I mean, there are some weird titles that they hit digital first and then come out in print. Like Batman 66. Technically, that's like an Elseworlds thing. It's an ongoing thing.
Or even Batman Beyond.
Mm-hmm. Which they ended up pulling into the New 52 universe and apparently have been doing things people are unhappy about. But I don't think it's easy for them because they're working with... I mean, they have tons of characters, but there's a certain set number of characters that bring them money. And they are working with a bunch of titles, a ton of writers. They do try to coordinate, there's a bat team. There's somebody that leads, the Batman department. And they have, conversations with, or, they have meetings with all the people that are writing Batman books. So they try to coordinate stuff like that. But it seems like it's too many wheels turning at the same time in different directions. And they can't coordinate very well all the time.
That's what I'm saying. There should just be one. Or maybe two. Maybe they could have, Batman and Detective Comics with the same Batman, and have one comes out this week, and then 2 weeks later this one comes out. Oh!
Are you talking about the same story in both?
Yeah.
No, that would suck then, because then you get into issues, and this problem is you get into issues like when we were reading, Brian Michael Bendis was writing the all-new, what was it?
All New X-Men?
All New X-Men, and then the other X-Men book. What was that?
Uncanny X-Men?
Yes. He was writing both those books.
Right.
And for the most part...
I don't know if he wrote that. Yeah, I don't know which ones he was writing, but I know he was writing All New.
No, he was writing the other one as well, for a time anyway.
Okay.
And there'd be a certain point. They were following kind of different groups, but there was so much interplay where you almost had to bounce between each to get the full story. Mm-hmm. And you complained about it.
Yeah, well...
But that's what you're talking about doing. And even that's what you're talking about doing.
Yeah, but it'd basically be making them one book.
Yeah, and they're not going to do that. Why sell one Batman book when you can sell 4?
Because then it sucks. That's why.
Why sell one? Why sell 4?
Because then you sell none because people don't want to deal with it anymore.
Oh, they don't, though. They sell.
Yeah, why sell one Deadpool when you can sell 17?
Yep.
Oh, well.
And why sell it once a month when you can sell it twice a month?
Oh, or 3 times Iron Fist.
Because it makes me shake my head. That's why.
Okay, so potential edit point, side tangent. Did we finish talking about Walking Dead?
Nope.
No, Randy's potty break derailed us.
Where did we leave off?
So we were coming up to the end of it, I think.
Yeah, I just wondered.
Somehow Alfred became Glenn, and then it disappeared.
Wow. I didn't see that twist coming.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's when The Walking Dead went really off the rails. Yeah, I like this volume of Walking Dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
edit point. In and out.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot to say about it besides that it's great.
No, I mean, I think I just wondered.
No, you're right. We didn't conclude it properly.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. But our trailing off into other things is it?
Yeah, no, it's a mark of the show. It's a high marker quality.
Really.
We flow. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do.
We're not choppy. We just flow all the way through to the end.
Yep. It is a little choppy at times. There's no amount of editing that can fix or really break it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It flows to the next choppy point.
Well, it's like a real river. There's going to be some rapids here and there.
Oh yeah. I'm
A
excited.
river that is a song. Spoilers.
So, don't do it. You even had the tone. Oh my god. Oh.
I want to perm Jesse's hair.
Why? Oh, so it can be River Song? It's the ultimate
boy.
cosplay.
Oh Lord. Have you seen my beard lately?
No, if it looks like Randy's, it's pretty awesome though.
it's getting pretty awesome.
Actually, Randy's is slightly less awesome because he keeps cutting it.
It doesn't just ZZ Top, okay? I don't know what you have in your mind. It
I have
doesn't.
ZZ Top in my mind.
It
just do
doesn't ZZ Top. It homeless man's.
I understand this. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
It doesn't It doesn't do.
You probably know what you need to do. I know you're a
I've
good.
tried to trim it.
No,
I've watched hipster YouTube videos where they're like, "Oh, all you do is this, and you've got this square beard."
don't watch hipsters. You need to
Those are
go.
the only people that post YouTube videos about how to trim your beard.
Go out to a
I
field.
think you're probably right.
Yeah.
Find someone who's growing a
Go
bunch
out
of
to a field. Uh-oh. This took
marijuana.
a weird turn.
You know, don't ingest any of it,
marijuana.
but rub your hands on it and get them all oily, and then smooth your beard down with it.
Cannabis oils,
Bam.
or I could just buy beard oil.
Ew. It's gross.
You talk about rubbing weeds in my literal
No,
weed
no.
in my beard.
Just the
I'm gonna smell like
like you ran over a skunk.
insert random pot jam band here. concert. I was gonna say the Walking Dead. I'm gonna smell like the Walking Dead.
The Grateful Walking Dead. That is now the name of the episode, right?
And I think I got yes, it is.
The Grateful Walking Dead. Wow. That's got to have SEO written all over it.
Oh man, what else, gentle people? I'm excited for. I kind of wish they'd do it for Batman as well, but I'm excited for Detective Comics and Action Comics to go back to their original numbering.
Oh, are they going back to like
Original
huge numbers?
Yeah.
Like
900.
600 and something or whatever it is?
Everything else is going to get renumbering, starting over at number 1.
Rebirth.
They're gonna get wet carpet rebirthed. It's kind of like a water birth, but different.
Yeah.
When you get born the first time, you have a water birth. Second time, it's just a wet carpet rebirth. It's weird.
Not carpet blanket.
A wet blanket.
Yeah, wet carpet. Wet carpet's a whole nother thing.
You're a real wet carpet.
Whoa. It's a wet blanket. You're a wet carpet.
I'm gonna have just a momentary struggle debate in my mind when I edit this as to how much of this should stay. It'll all stay though.
It'll all stay.
What the heck was I saying? Oh yeah, so everything's going back to number 1 except Action Comics and Detective Comics. Of course, they're 2 flagships. Are going back to the original numbering. Except I noticed, one was like at the 800s already.
Oh, surely.
Must be Detective.
Probably. I would think.
Or Action.
Well, maybe I would think Action because was Superman
Action
the first?
Yeah, that might be the case. But I've noticed they're going back to the original numbering, but like 52 issues after where they dropped off. So technically, I'm guessing in their mind,
52.
the new 52 issues would then slot into where they should have been if they hadn't have renumbered. I'm excited though because I don't know. I'm a weirdo. I like to number things, and if you've got a bunch of them and they're numbered high, man, keep that going. Like, why would you reset it? I'm not going to reset.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
That's the one thing I didn't understand about them always restarting at number 1. And then like having a big to do, like X Factor, they decided, like they had not done X Factor for a long time, and then they restarted X Factor, and then all of a sudden it's X Factor 300. And we're going to go back to the original numbering scheme because that's way more exciting now.
Yeah. Well, it was like Detective Comics, when they hit issue whatever in the new 52 run, would have been their, 700th or 900th issue? Maybe 900th issue. And they made a big deal about it being the 900 or whatever. And it's like, no, you can't do that. You've reset the numbers. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So they're going to go back to the original numbering. So that's
you
cool.
can say 75 years of Batman. You can't say 1,000 issues of Batman because you keep restarting.
But they want that. They want that cake.
Yeah, they want both. Yeah.
Well, honestly, who's going to take cake and not eat it? What's the point then?
I know, it's a ridiculous saying. That was spirited and unexpected. It kind of startled me.
How dare you, Marie Antoinette? How dare you?
Well, if you don't have a head, there's an excuse not to eat cake. Other than that.
True. 'Tis a fair point.
I kind of wish, but like Batman has been going forever. They were in the 600s at least. Go back to the original for Batman. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand. Like, their thing is like, well, if a new reader, which is kind of some bullcrap, but if a new reader comes in and they see issue 758, they're not going to buy it because they'll be like, oh, there's so much back issues. I don't know where to start. But come on.
Yeah. Well, does that affect anything when it comes to the movies? Are there people that actually are like, well, I cannot see this movie because I've never seen a Batman movie before?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, exactly. I guarantee there's a bunch of people that seen The Dark Knight without seeing Batman Begins, stuff like that. I'm sure there's people that went and seen Captain America, the Winter Soldier, without watching the first Captain America.
Yeah, they probably got hooked on the Avengers, and they're like, well, I'm not going to go back and watch the last one, but I know what happened before, so here we go.
Okay. Action Comics, which is the older of the two, right?
I don't know. That's kind of the debate.
That's our theory, yeah.
I can look the other one up too. It's slightly confusing. But it says number of issues 906. There's 904 and then 13 annuals.
Okay, yeah. Well, they don't really count the annuals as the main run.
They're like a yearbook.
No, I'm wrong. Volume 1 is 906 and 13 annuals. Volume 2 is 53 and 3 annuals.
Okay. 53.
They
did a 0 issue in the new 52.
Yeah, numbered 0.
Yeah, okay.
To 23.1 through 23.4. So really.
No, I know. The point. They went Marvel for a second and did the point numbers.
Oh, no.
That was an awful month. I hated
Marvel
it.
shouldn't have done the point, let alone DC.
I hated it. Villains Month, that was a terrible thing because I was buying, I don't know, at least 4 DC books. And then all of a sudden this month, hey, take that number times 4 because they all have 4 issues coming out this month. Ugh. But, so, what'd you say, 906?
Volume 1 is 906 and 13 annuals. Volume 2 is 53 and 3 annuals.
So, what's 906 plus 53? Where are they going to put that 0
959 issue? And 16 annuals?
Well, yeah, so they'll come back at like 958 or so is where the numbering will pick up.
Because 0 won't count either.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with the 0 issue. Because wasn't there 0 issues already in the previous volume?
Zeros typically wind up being like a prequel.
Yeah. I know there's like issue number 1 million in a bunch of the DC series as well that they did at some point.
Oh, that's right.
Gets slotted in there all weird.
I should find out when the special issue of Walking Dead is so we can, if we get to it, we can be like, huzzah!
Special issue?
Mm-hmm. Remember that one time I was like, what is this? This isn't Walking Dead.
Oh, there's like a weird issue, huh?
Yeah.
Should we fear it? Should we fear The Walking Dead?
Maybe.
I was complaining because we were watching, what were we watching on Hulu? By the way, we've been watching The Strain on Hulu at your suggestion.
What episode are you on? Because we watched a few. You may be further than us, is what I'm saying.
I think we got to 4, maybe?
Yeah, no, we're only 3 or 4 in.
Well, that may be as far as we got. It basically became the argument that a lot of people will have against The Walking Dead, where it's like, oh man, it's so dark. It's so depressing. I'm not sure if I'm in the mood for it.
I don't think my tolerance might be higher than other people's also, but it hasn't gotten there for me.
Yeah, well, that's not saying anything though. Oh, but anyway, yeah, well, we've been enjoying it. I like it. I like the concept. It doesn't have quite the hook that some shows are.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's usually I'm like, oh, what should we watch? We're caught up on whatever.
Yeah, when there's nothing else to watch.
And then you're like, what about that one show? And you never remember what it is. That one show. I was like, oh, okay, the strain.
Okay.
I'm not trying to make fun. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah. I know.
And Sean Astin is in it, and I'm like, what? He's not a Goonie? He's not a Hobbit?
He's delivered a couple very questionable lines. His commitment to making the viewer feel like the character's really in it is questionable. Stop! Get off of him!
They never say they never say die.
Anyway, so we were watching some show on there, and there was a commercial, a Hulu commercial, as they do. We don't pay the extra for the no commercials. For Fear the Walking Dead. It's coming to Hulu. I was like,
oh yeah,
why can't they get just The Walking Dead? Because Fear the Walking Dead.
You know, the tease that we had on Hulu, I think it was yesterday, was they were showcasing all of the shows that they have, and Doctor Who was one of them. And I'm like, take that commercial down! How dare you?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Don't show me a commercial for Doctor Who if I can't have it.
That's false advertising.
It is.
It was just for a second. It's just like, like, hey, Jane the Virgin and Doctor Who. How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
I whipped a little.
I wish I had a glove to smack them with.
And I wish Hulu had a face to take it.
Pistols at dawn, Hulu. Pistols at dawn.
That reminds me, I think we are behind on Legends of Tomorrow. Oh, and we're behind on Arrow.
We're way behind on Arrow.
Oh, are you? And Brandon sent us a fun little news bite yesterday.
I don't even care that it's a spoiler. I'm excited. I wonder if it's true. I wonder if it's going to happen.
Man, what do they do? I mean, I guess they've left the Black Canary behind so many times.
Laurel.
She's not even a love interest anymore.
She hasn't been anything for a long time. Did I tell you, Melanie? And I'll share this. This was one of my favorite moments from me and Jesse appearing on the Technology Geek, which is a very entertaining show. You should definitely go check it out. Especially when we're not on there, when it's just Brandon, because he'll go through. I do like hearing him. He goes through tech headlines, which I enjoy quite a bit because I can barely even keep up with comic book headlines, let alone tech headlines. And I do a comic book show.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But then he'll also get into this his wild tangents about various things, which are very amusing,
like society or politics or whatever,
pajama pants and
and
homeowners and renters and just all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But we were on the show and we were talking about Arrow, as we do, and he was talking. I don't know. It sounded. He was kind of disparaging to the characters they pulled out of Arrow and Flash and put in Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but, I mean, Laurel, what? And at one point I was like, Laurel's the worst. And he just goes, shh.
That was one of my favorite moments. He shushed you and he threatened to dump you too.
Yeah, he's like, if you were on Skype, cause I called in on Hangouts. And he's like, if you were on Skype, I'd dump you. I can't dump you. And I was like, she's the worst, Brandon. She's the worst.
She is.
He likes her.
Laurel's the worst.
He likes Arrow though. He's Arrow first on those three shows.
Wow.
So that's his jam, which there's periods which I've liked Arrow quite a bit, but you compare it to Flash and I don't get Arrow being my number one jam. But to each their own. I was not expecting such a reaction to the Laurel thing.
It was a very how dare you, sir.
That's weird. The only thing I can say though is when she was on the show, Butthole Face was worse. She's not that bad on Legends of Tomorrow, so
I can't believe that's your name for her show.
I'd be disappointed if it wasn't.
What was her name? Sarah?
Yeah.
I like her. Yeah, I like her better on Legends of Tomorrow. She was okay on Arrow.
Oh, so you guys haven't seen the episode where Ollie shows up?
No.
Okay.
No.
I know he does. No, we haven't.
Oh, you're right. That was not him. That was some other guy. That was
someone else.
A green dressed man with a bow and arrow.
Oh, he definitely had the arrow suit. Yeah, no, we haven't watched that one. We've been meaning to, but what did we watch? We watched. It wasn't. We checked. It wasn't on Hulu.
So we watched something else, and then it became the weekend, I think.
Well, it's on Friday. They air it on Thursdays, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Friday nights we have the kids.
Friday night we have the kids over. Yesterday we watched that James Franco JFK thing.
Oh, that's
Hulu.
a good show too. Oh boy, yeah.
And then tonight we're recording, so we just haven't had time to catch up on it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm gonna
So-
be.
Oh, but
So are you guys caught up on the Stephen King show then?
no, we just watched the first episode. I think there's two
Oh, okay. Yep.
out.
I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to like it.
Is it?
Oh,
Oh.
The main character's a writer. Of course, it's a Stephen King.
Oh.
I was surprised he wasn't a drunk.
I didn't realize it was Stephen King.
give it time.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, we watched the first episode. We haven't watched the second one yet. I mean, the first one was like an hour and 20 minutes. It's a good length.
Yeah. No, it's just as intriguing.
I was liking it, but I was frustrated. I was so frustrated.
Yeah. You were frustrated right away. I at least was like, well, it can still.
I'm like, no, because I know he has a reset button. And now I haven't
Yeah.
seen the second episode, so if maybe something happens, I don't know. But he has a reset button. He got to the past, made kind of a mess of things right off, hit that reset button and start over. Don't wait a bunch of time.
And I said he could have until that house burned down or whatever it was. Yeah, it was like a house hotel. Once that happened, I'm like, yeah, no, you can't do that. You can't. Actually, even before that, I think I was starting to think it with the telephone thing.
Yeah.
If other people are getting messed up because of your doings, go back and start over.
Man, okay, now this is a total side tangent, but I loved the bit in, when he goes into that bar or whatever to listen in to that guy he's following.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like cartoon levels where, the past will push back.
Mm-hmm.
There's the fire thing, which he knew about.
Mm-hmm.
And then
The chandelier.
chandelier falls and almost hits him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, stop. You're going to get an anvil
Okay.
dropped on your head if you keep walking.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're talking about right now is 11/22/63,
Yeah.
the 8-part event series on Hulu that is from Stephen King and J.J. Abrams. Continue.
Yeah. It's got and it's got James Franco, and I'm a Francophile. No, I don't like it like that. I don't like that sound of that
Yeah.
because that gives like a sexual tone to it. I like James Franco, even though he does a lot of weird stuff that's not always the greatest.
And he always seems like he's trying to act like a good guy, but that he's really not. Like he's got something weird going on back there. It's either pervy
behind his eyes.
or wrong in some way, but he's putting on that nice guy front.
I think what I appreciate most about that, have you guys seen The End or This Is the End?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
That pretty much sums it up. It's like he always plays such a nice guy, so in that show he wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I like that movie quite a bit.
Yeah, it's good.
I think when Franco won me over, totally, when he had me, totally. I think when he won me over totally was, and there's a lot of people, Spider-Man 3,
Yeah.
which a lot of people, not only do a lot of people consider a terrible movie, but I've heard a lot of James Franco hate, specifically on him in Spider-Man 3. But when
He was not the worst part of that movie.
no, I don't think so.
I will defend him on that. He was not the worst part.
So I don't, I have I don't remember why he was in the hospital, but he's in the hospital, and Peter Parker and Mary Jane walk in after he's kind of woken up or whatever, and Franco he's so goofy, but he looks at me, he's like, "Hey, you guys," and it's just like, the thing is, it was so goofy and kind of nerdy and laughable, but I was like, that's probably the most realistic depiction of anything I've ever seen, because it was like so unaware. Like there was no like self-conscious. It was just, he allowed it to be just totally goofy. And I thought it was great. I was like, this kid's going places.
Yeah, he's going to be in Pineapple Express.
I like Pineapple.
I also love that movie too.
I do too.
Yeah.
Pineapple Express might be one of the like most rewatchable, entertaining comedies
Mhm.
of the last long time.
Yeah. It's like the Shaun of the Dead of like action.
Yeah, I mean, they do take that like, I mean, it's not as good.
No.
Shaun of the Dead is like gold
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
But Pineapple Express, it's just a notch under.
Mhm.
It takes,
It's just below Hot Fuzz.
yeah. Yeah.
Wait, below Hot Fuzz?
Hot Fuzz is pretty good. Yeah, because Hot Fuzz does the action thing too.
Okay, I was thinking for some reason Hot Fuzz to me was that movie where the guy, the Iron Man, was black.
Oh, Tropical Thunder?
Yeah, and I'm like, that was not really a good movie, guys.
No,
but that was
no.
Okay, good. I'm not the only one. Sometimes there are movies that people are like, oh, that's great. I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, that movie had a lot of buzz on it.
Yeah.
Which is, that's weird. Anyway, yeah. That's it.
We're all in agreement. Good job.
James Franco is okay.
He's okay.
He's all right.
And there was, I don't know if I watched the whole thing, but there was a Comedy Central roast or some roast of James Franco.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And the best line, I don't remember who did it, and those roasts can be so-so, but the best line was somebody was like, you know the old adage of one for them, one for me, referring to like the directors or the actors who are like, I'll do one big studio movie for them, and then I'll do one for me, which is like their passion project or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the follow-up line is, James Franco, he's like, one for them, 5 for nobody. Because he does. He'll do like the big studio movie, and then he'll do like 5 passion projects that apparently are for no one.
Yeah.
They're weird. He's done a ton of weird indie movies. I've never seen any of them. They look so pretentious.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, and Seth Rogen can talk him into anything, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Here's a perfect example of what's great about Franco and his kind of pretentiousness is there's these 2 internet things I've watched, and I've been very entertained by both of them. They both have merits that Franco did. The one where it's him like teaching his younger brother,
I saw that
who's
one.
also a guy, to acting, and he's like, here's what you do. You stand on this thing, and this will be green screened, and he's like coaching him on how to act, but he's totally doing his like goblin Spider-Man thing. It's ridiculous. And then this other thing is this super ridiculous, it's like 30, 40 minutes long, where it's just a camera set up in a room, and he just goes in and tears the room up for like 30 minutes. Doesn't say anything, just rips this room apart. And that was pretty fun too. You
like those things. You like that. You like the guy sitting there drinking whiskey by the fireplace and not talking for 45 minutes. Were you the one who showed me the Macaulay Culkin eating pizza?
Yeah.
Awkwardly? Yeah. See, that's your thing, I think.
It's so weird, but it's great. Yeah, you put a famous actor in front of a screen doing just nothing, just something weird, and it's pretty gold.
Andy Kaufman. That's your jam.
Kaufman was weird. It is that kind of like, though, that just where you're like, wait, what is this? What's going on?
That was one of his stand-up routines. Was he was eating ice cream?
Really?
Andy Kaufman eating ice cream. Yep.
It's great because at first you're like, oh, that's kind of funny, and then you get mad. You're like, at first you're like, wait, this is dumb. Then you get mad, and then it goes on for so long. You're like, this is brilliant. Like.
No, you're like, this is brilliant. I never get past the mad stage.
Well, at least James Franco ripping up a room. There's something happening. It's action. There's something happening.
Okay.
He does say stuff. I don't remember what it was. He says weird things. He mumbles to himself while he's doing it.
Well, lucky for you.
Gold.
I can zone out anything.
Oh,
Ron Swanson?
Is that his name?
The
bearded guy?
Yeah, I think that was it.
Ron Swanson?
Yeah, something like that.
Ron Swanson?
We can agree on
Swanson?
That guy's great. He's got a beard, and he's just got like that, like, you know,
lumberjack look.
Lumberjack look. And it was on some, like, the YouTube channel of some, like, whiskey company. So they obviously, put this thing together. But it's a Yule log video, except instead of just having the fireplace, it's just single shot, fireplace in the background, and
Ron Swanson?
Can't remember his name. Sitting there.
Ron Swanson?
Ron. Is it?
Based on Google, yes.
Okay. He's sitting
Maybe.
there looking lumberjackly, and he's just sits there and stares at the camera, looking awesome, occasionally taking a sip of his drink, and doesn't say a single thing. It's 45 minutes long. When we did one of our first, we lit the fireplace up one of the first times this winter, I threw it on YouTube and had it going while we actually had the fireplace going. It's not like I could sit there and watch him actually just stare back at me for 45 minutes. That'd be weird. Mm-hmm. But I like that it's a thing.
I like that it's a thing too, but I don't, it's 45 minutes, man. And I'm just saying, if I had paid to go see that, and that's what it was, I would never not be angry about it.
Well, that's not what okay. This
Kaufman is what I'm talking about.
Kaufman doing that, you've got money invested, that's your evening. I could see that being very upsetting. Mm-hmm. But this other stuff I'm talking about, they're YouTube videos and stuff like that. Yeah. You didn't pay for them, they're just there.
No, I appreciate that, I guess. Even the Macaulay Culkin eating the pizza, which just kind of weirds me out.
Oh, I appreciate it. That was a horror movie, a horror short right there. He looked rough in that. Have we lost everybody yet?
Yeah, I think the actual podcasty part of the podcast was done a while ago, maybe.
This is my attempt at the podcast version of what we've been talking about.
Dead air, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
What? That's where you lost me.
I will eventually do the podcast version of Macaulay Culkin sitting silently eating a piece of pizza.
Ron Swanson. Oberman was way off.
Oh,
Parks and Recs.
I'm gonna go. I'll just cut that one you saying Swanson, and I'll just cut that over every time we say the wrong name.
Do it. It'll be great.
There. That'll be my podcast version of somebody sitting in a room doing nothing.
I got stuck on Oberman. I'm like, that sounds right, but it's wrong. What's wrong with this?
Hey, listener, did you know Jesse has his own show? And
oh boy,
it's been doing gangbusters. You hit the number 1 spot on New and Noteworthy.
For hobbies, yeah, and then number 16 for games and hobbies. So
I didn't even know there was a numbering system. You're on it. That's awesome. I bet you're so excited. You're doing cartwheels.
Turning cartwheels.
Sorry.
No, it's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty much because people have been leaving positive reviews on iTunes and downloading the show, because that's really what it comes down to. Is if you do those things, that's how I go up in the rankings. So feel free to do that for this show, the Grawlix Podcast,
if you wish.
Yeah, please.
I don't know why I felt I had to chime in with the no pressure. It's cool.
Well, no pressure, but please.
No, man, you're up to episode 6, and
yes,
I've been enjoying the show quite a bit.
I've had positive responses, which is really all you can ask.
I haven't listened to it, and I won't, but I wish you well.
I like it because it does hit I want to say inspirational, but maybe insightful. It hits like an insight. It can be inspirational, but inspirational has a connotation of it's sad. It's sickeningly sweet, It's not like that at all. Right. It's very insightful. It's just a lot of times when you'll hear somebody say inspirational, more cynical people might be like, oh, so it's sappy. So I'd say it's inspirational without the sap.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it real because I am not one of those self-help guys, but at the same time, I'm trying to help myself.
I can appreciate that. And this is someone who has rotating demotivationals on my computer as the screens and everything.
Oh, yeah, and I can totally appreciate that. So if that gives you any indication of what the show is, I don't know. I'm a cynic trying to be more positive.
Well, I could say this. I listened to, which episode was it? 5, maybe? Where you were talking about trying to explain meditation to some people.
Oh, yeah.
And it got me thinking, and then I come home and I was like, Melanie, and Melanie's going to be like, oh, that's why you said that.
You're like, where should we eat?
No, I was like, Melanie, if you want to sit in a dark room with nothing on, you can. It's not weird. If anything, I'll just look at it as that's your way to meditate.
Yeah, but
because I give you a hard time about it, and no, listening to Jesse's episode, I was actually like, I am kind of being like,
it's fine. I can turn the TV on and just not watch it. It doesn't matter.
But you shouldn't have to.
Well, it's just wasting electricity is all. Because I'm not.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to.
And when I lived alone, it was fine. If it weirds you out, it doesn't bother me to turn on stuff and pretend like I'm doing something.
Jesse's podcast had a positive effect on my life. Oh. And my outlook.
Okay.
Okay. Has this gotten weird enough yet? This is How else would we promote your podcast? This is the Grawlix way.
This is how I would want it to be.
I
don't want it to be fake. Real. That's what I want. Real.
That was a testimonial.
Yeah. I love it.
It's a good show, guys. The Turning Cartwheels Podcast.
Cartwheelspodcast.com.
Getting real.
Yeah.
Right.
Getting real. Real weird sometimes, but real.
And also check out Brandon's show. We mentioned him several times, and I think we've already promoted his URL, but thetechnologygeek.org. It's a good show. I guarantee we're going to be on it again.
Yeah, because it's fun. And you know where you can find both of these shows?
Oh,
and this show?
Oh my gosh. All the shows we're talking about?
electronicmediacollective.com.
Oh, what is that? Some kind of network of podcasts?
I don't know, but it's a mouthful.
It's kind of, I just realized how funny it is to promote that when the opening of every episode we've ever done promotes that link.
Oh yeah. And uses that catchphrase too, so it's a mouthful.
The podcast network has a catchphrase.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody uses it except for the time I wrote it for the voice actor to say it, but because it's the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah. It's a mouthful. Get it?
Oh!
Talking mouthful. It's a long
title.
I like to call back to it. So.
No, I do like it.
And when you say it, it does become a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. It's a mouthful.
Like how exhausted it made you. Yeah.
Take a breath.
Maybe I'll go to that website later. Just saying it was too much.
Dude, I have to do my breathing exercises.
Oh.
That's it, guys. It's a strange, meandering, like final segment.
It's because it's a leap year.
You're
right. It is.
Oh.
Yep.
That's the problem.
That's why I have a week to edit this and not a day.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. It's the true story. I was looking at that and I was like, woo.
Oh, leap year. You make me happy. That's a pun, guys.
Sorry, I was looking at movie quotes. Yeah.
I was trying to think if that had something to do with Easter, but I'm like, it seems like that's a ways away. I don't know.
This is Randy. Grawlix Liefeld.
This is Melanie. Daddy needs to express some Grawlix.
And this is Jesse. Ray, when someone asks you if you're a Grawlix, you say, yes!
Thank you for listening to the Grawlix Podcast. The Grawlix Podcast is a production of Electronic Media Collective and Vorpal Arrow Studios. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. To hear more, visit GrawlixPodcast.com, follow us on Facebook at Facebook.com/GrawlixPodcast, and like us on Twitter, Twitter.com/GrawlixPodcast.
Would be my DVD.
This is not podcast. This is not a podcast-worthy conversation.
You have an entire
yet it still continues.
freaking thing full.
And you're not even counting the boxes I still have in the closet.
Oh, you still have boxes.
If we go through all 25 episodes, I think this is a podcast conversation.